All right, we're good to go. Let's do it. Welcome back to another UFC breakdown. This is going to be UFC Vegas 27, Garbrandt versus Font. Pretty solid card. Betting wise, it's pretty decent for me. Entertainment wise, there's a couple good ones on here. I am once again joined by Gordo Gambles. What's going on, my man?
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of nice spots I like, but at the same time, it's tough for certain fights. I can't get a good read on some of them, so I'm excited to break them down with you. Let me know what you see.
Yeah, for sure. Some of these are close, competitive, and some are just hard to get a read. I feel that too. But we'll start with the first fight. All right, so first fight of the night, we got Damir.
You gonna share your screen?
Oh, you're right.
Beauty.
You're right. Share. My bad. Location window. All right.
Wouldn't be a stream without technical difficulties, am I right?
Of course, man. All right. So first fight of the night, we got Damir Ismagulov taking on Rafael Alves. So Damir Ismagulov is 30 years old, 5'10", 74-inch reach. He is 22-1, 12 knockouts, 9 decisions, 1 submission, and he's lost by decision once. He's currently 3-0 in the UFC on a 17-fight win streak overall. And he's taking on Rafael Alves, who's also 30 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. So Ismagulov is going to have 2-inch height advantage and a 6-inch reach disadvantage. Alves is 19-9. He's yet to make his UFC debut. He's fresh off the Contender Series. He's currently running a 5-fight winning streak. So how do you see this one playing out?
Well, this is a weird fight because we have this really strategic, great prospect that's been out for 21 months versus this man that's to be killed or killer to be killed, man. He just goes all out. And we know Alves last time out missing weight by what was it, 12 pounds? And it wasn't his best start. But no, Damir's legit. Like his last fights, like he's a good prospect, and he's like what I love most about him is he's so smart. Like he does everything so well. He's very technical. He's got some great boxing. He does well, and he's facing the guy who's almost the opposite. Like you're having this well-rounded, strategic fighter versus someone who just wants to kill you, who sends every single strike with the intent of putting your lights out, not worrying too much about his cardio, putting himself out there, and it makes for a really good fight. I'm really excited for this one to start off the night. I definitely lean Damir here. He's the way better fighter almost everywhere, I think. And something that maybe a bit against the grain here is I like him to finish this. Rafael's been finished in all of his losses. And if Damir just plays that smart game plan, he'll be able to hit him. I know he's got some nice spinning kicks as well, and like he leaves himself open. So I think this is going to be a good, mostly stand-up battle. Only danger I see is not even a danger. Like you just have such a good prospect in Damir that you got to nitpick for this stuff, right? But Rafael does have a decent squeeze if he charges in for a takedown, which I don't see that happening. But no, I think this is Damir all day. What about you?
Yeah, man. Hard to disagree with that. This was the easiest fight to predict, I think. Like Damir Ismagulov, he's a prospect. This is a future top 10 guy in my opinion. He's got it all, man. He's just so well fundamentals, great fundamentals. Again, he's got the reach advantage and the height advantage too, and he uses the reach advantage well to maintain distance. He's very defensively sound. He doesn't really leave his opponents many opportunities to hit him, which is what Alves is going to do. I will say with Alves, I was impressed by his Contender Series fight. He kind of fought a little bit more patient, which was good to see, picked his spots. But the thing with Alves is as much as he tries to just go out there and kill you, he's very low volume. Like he'll just throw like one power punch at a time. And I feel like Damir is going to see that coming all day. He's very defensively sound.
Oh, yeah.
He's very technical. He's got good counters, especially that right hand. He's got really nice low kicks, very fast, very sharp there. Good left hook, good movement. Again, really good jab. Good jab to the body as well. He's got good body lock takedowns too. So if he wants to take the fight to the ground, he can. Like you mentioned, Alves has a pretty decent squeeze on him with the guillotine. He's got a lot of subs, but Damir is so defensively sound. I just feel like he understands the game very well. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years with a bunch of injuries, but Alves is also a guy that hasn't fought in a while as well. Right, and on this, in terms of the weigh-ins, right, Alves looked great, right, jacked out of his mind.
He did.
But Damir, he looked like he always does. He looked good. He's in good shape. And yeah, I got Damir here all day. I just think he's the much better fighter. I think he's way more sound, way more technical. There's a reason this guy's a minus 550 favorite. There's also a reason this guy's been this big of a favorite in pretty much every single UFC fight he's had so far. He has never been put in any real danger, and this is kind of a similar opponent to who he's faced, right? Like he's facing Thiago Moises, Joel Alvarez. Those guys are low volume on the feet. So is Rafael Alves. So I feel like Damir is just going to take center of the octagon, control the fight, control the pace. He's going to determine when to go. He's got the cardio advantage as well, right? Alves is very explosive, but when he goes out swinging, he gasses. And both guys have faced decent competition outside the UFC, but overall, I just think that Damir Ismagulov is a really, really good fighter, and I think he's gonna make a run, probably a top 15 guy. Like I know he hasn't faced like a good striker yet per se in the UFC, but he's just so technically sound. He just knows what to do. He's so good defensively, and Alves is just he's not really a step up. Like I don't think he's better than Moises, obviously, especially now with Moises fighting Makhachev. So yeah, Damir Ismagulov is the side here at minus 550. I mean, you could parlay him. I think he's the most confident pick on the card. I don't really like parlaying anything bigger than minus like 500 though, personally, but Damir should get this done. And for your point with the finish, Damir's definitely a point fighter, right? Like he picks the outside. But you're right. Alves has been finished in all of his losses, and I think Damir is definitely live for a finisher, right? He hits hard with that right hand. He's dropped a couple guys. So yeah, I don't hate Damir. I don't hate a Damir finish potential, but he's just such a point fighter, and he's just fine with beating you up for 15 minutes that I'm just going to stay off this fight. But this should be Damir all day.
I actually took my first shot of the day on the under here. It's juiced, and it in reality, I don't know how much I like it, but it's like when you have such a dominant fighter, like I love taking a shot on a finish because like it's just such a big big difference, right? From going minus 550 to plus 180. And even if you want to be safe, if maybe Damir's been out for a while, he's not as sharp as he usually is, and Alves catches him with something, you never know if that under's going to hit. But sure, in this spot right here, I just think Alves is going to gas himself out. And honestly, if I'd get really, I predict a spinning kick KO from Damir at this point because he leaves himself open. So no, I got Damir here all day. I'm playing the under.
Yeah, it's not bad because if Alves wins this fight, you got to think it's by finish, right? For sure. Like he's not going to win a decision here. So what'd you get on that? Plus like 160 around there. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. If Alves wins, it's by finish. So and Damir
I actually took the fight doesn't go to decision, and it was juice the start of the week. Don't have it with me, but yeah, you never know with someone who gasses out like that. I know we have bad luck betting fighters who do gas out, but I think that it goes well.
Yeah, all in agreements here. All right, so we'll get on to the next fight. We've got a lightweight fight. Yancy Medeiros taking on Damir Hadzovic. So Yancy Medeiros, 33 years old, 5'10", 75-inch reach. He is 15-7 with 8 knockouts, 4 submissions, and 3 decision wins. In his 7 losses, he's been knocked out 4 times, lost by submission once, and lost by decision twice. In the UFC, he is 6-7, currently on a 3-fight losing streak. He's taking on Damir Hadzovic, who is 13-6, 3-4 in the UFC, currently on a 2-fight losing streak himself. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach, so Yancy's going to have the 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's got 7 knockouts, 3 subs, 3 decisions. He's been lost by knockout once, submission once, decision 4 times. So this is a fight where really, like, going into it, I knew I wanted to stay away, right? Especially with the line being near evens for me. Like, I don't really have a strong read on this fight. Like, both guys have been out for a while, over a year for them both. Yancy, he's got the reach advantage, but his striking defense is just so, like, not good at all, in my opinion. Like, he has the under 50% under 50% striking defense, and obviously with a large sample size with all the fights he's had. But he tries and throws out the jab. He's constantly switching stances. His chin is questionable. He doesn't look too accurate throwing. He has an under 40% accuracy with his strikes. And the Lando fight was just like really bad. Like I was never really high on Yancy at all, but like that Lando fight, like he just looked like completely like gone. Like he had no offense in that fight. He just didn't even really look to throw in that fight, right? Like this is a guy who, was on a 3-fight winning streak after he beat Alex Oliveira and then got a main event slot against Cowboy. And then ever since that, like he's just looked like I was never high on him, but he just doesn't look, he looks even worse now, especially with Lando. Like you can't back Yancy Medeiros after that Lando performance. And Damir is a guy that, he's not very good either, right? I think on the feet, like I honestly don't really know who has the advantage. I think both have their moments. I think if Yancy can pump out the jab, he could have some success. I think if Damir puts on the pressure, he can have success. I think I think what might be big for Yancy here is if he can try to get Damir to the ground. Right, Damir only has like a 36% takedown defense. Right, he doesn't stuff any takedowns, and I know Yancy to this point in the UFC hasn't really attempted like any takedowns at all, or doesn't really shoot them. Like he averages like 0.6 per 15 minutes or something like that. And let me just double check that. He averages only 0.12 on a 25% accuracy. So like I don't really see that path for taking him down. And it's just like such a low level fight that I really want no piece with it, especially at this money. I think pretty much the line is accurate. At a pick 'em, I'd probably like I'm 50-50 down the middle. If I had to pick, I would probably go with Yancy, just because I think maybe his striking is a little bit better. But honestly, no confidence in that pick at all. I want to stay far away from this fight. In terms of the weigh-ins, business as usual. Their face-off was normal. I thought both guys looked pretty good. Yancy he weighed in like second last, and he looked fine. He looked happy. He looked ready to go. So did Damir. So yeah, for me, not really much to say about this fight. I think Yancy's faced the better competition. I don't really think. I don't know. I don't have a strong view on this fight, man. What do you got?
This is a loser goes home kind of spot here, and I feel bad. Like they've both been fed to the dog, especially Yancy with like going back to back with Cerrone, Gillespie, Vanderaa, especially the way Vanderaa looked last week. It's not good. Yeah. But you gotta think that what am I saying? Yancy has had the better competition, and where it is a step down, if you are to back him, your backing guy's been in so many wars, you don't know where he's at. Like he's been in a lot of like high volume fights. But if you look at their styles, you got one fighter and Yancy who's a high output, constantly jabbing, throwing a bunch, versus Damir who's more of a singular strike kind of guy. Like he's a very good boxer, but they both don't have the best striking defense, and that's the thing. Like they both have decent chins, but they use them too much. Like it's at a point where you can't really back any of them with confidence because they both get hit so much, and it's one where, like you said, it's hard to get a read on. I do favor Yancy in his output. To the point of takedowns, he hasn't really had the opportunity to shoot any takedowns against anybody, especially if you look who he's facing. Like he's not going to take down Gillespie. He's not going to take down Vanderaa if Grundy can't take him down. Everyone he's facing, he hasn't had the opportunity to. So I could see him doing it against someone who's as weak on the ground as him and Damir. But I think the volume's going to win it for Medeiros. I got him by decision. And but honestly, I can't say that with certainty. Like it's just one of those spots where you don't know what's going to happen because such horrible striking defense could lead to a knockout. Like they both have decent power, but they have good chins at the same time. It's just a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. You can't really trust any of these guys with your money. In terms of the overs, the overs minus 130, the unders plus 110. At first I was looking at the over just because I just feel like there's not going to be too much output in this fight in terms of like power shots, but there could be a finish, man. Both their chins. I think Damir has a better chin than Yancy, and Damir definitely hits harder. So I wouldn't be surprised if he finished Yancy. But I just want to stay away. Like this is just there's 14 fights, 13 fights on this card. Yancy Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic is just not a fight that I want to be invested in.
No, I was on Yancy to start, and I was looking to bet him, especially looking at level of competition, and he does have the tools to win. It's just so many variables I don't like. I like making sure like there's a perfect clear path to victory, and I'm just going to stay away.
Yeah. Can't really disagree with that. All right, so we'll get on to the next fight now. It is going to be Joshua Culibao taking on Yilan Nurdenbeek. I'm saying that right. So Culibao, 26 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach. He's 8 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. He's got 5 knockouts and 3 subs, and he's been finished once by strikes. By KO, and he's 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw in the UFC. So he was 8-0 coming into the UFC, hasn't really gotten on the board yet. And he's taking on the UFC newcomer, Yilan Shah here, who's 27, 5'8", 69-inch reach. So he's at a 2-inch height disadvantage, 4-inch reach disadvantage. And the weigh-ins, he was definitely looked much smaller. I mean, that was probably the best face-off between these two, right? Culibao was like right in his face, ready to go. But yeah, this guy is 19-6, 7 knockouts, 5 subs, 5 decisions. He's been submitted 4 times, lost by knockout once, and lost by decision once. I mean, there's not really much to say about this fight. I think Culibao gets on the gets the job done here. How do you see this fight going?
It's a tough one because you have another fighter coming out of that program over there in China, and they just fight so much, and there's no tape on it whatsoever. Like, I watched 2 fights for Shaw that I could find. One of them, he got subbed by Zhu Rong. Yeah, it was Zhu in the first few minutes. And the other one, it was so inactive that the ref took out points for each fighter. And you look at Shaw, and he looks to have potential. Like, he's got a good kung fu foundation. He had a good record there, and he's a decent wrestler. But he's got this questionable striking defense. Like, he doesn't block, he just leans back, and he uses a lot of brute strength instead of technique. Like, it's just one of those fighters who doesn't look to be that experienced, and not someone I really want to back that much. And you have this guy in Culibao who took Charles Jourdain to a draw, which was an insane fight. He did really well. He had some nice shots out of the clinch. That's how he dropped him. And it should be his thing to win, except for we don't know what we're getting in Shaw. Like, he's coming down a weight class from his last fight. He's decent on the ground too. Like, he loves to wrestle from what I see. Culibao sticks his head in when he goes for those takedowns, could lock up a sub. You just don't know. It's another one where there's so many variables, especially at the price tag that Culibao is now. It's not something I really want to lay my money on, especially when he doesn't seem to have the best cardio. But no, I think there's going to be a nice low volume striking affair when they do get in the clinch. I do expect to see some battles on the ground here. Shaw's got some nice takedowns. And some pretty good top control in terms of advances. Like, he doesn't keep them down there too well, but he's able to float on top, transition, look to get to mount. And I think it'll be a nice action-packed one, but it's not one you can really predict.
Yeah, I agree. I think Culibao's definitely should win this fight, man. Like, he's faced the way better competition, right? Like Jalen Turner, who's arguably a welterweight, right? He was competitive in that fight. He looked, he was decent in that. And then the Charles Jourdain fight, he made a good account of himself in that fight. So Josh Culibao should be the side here. He's bigger. I think again, he's faced a much better competition, right? And there's just not that much tape on this guy, Yilan Shah. Like, there's really just not that much. I mean, he's coming out of the same program like Zhang Ru just came out of, and he just lost. So, and he lost to Ru. So, I definitely think Culibao should win this fight. Right? I'm going to take the UFC guy who's been in the UFC twice and put up decent fights against good competition over the guy that there's not much tape on, against the guy who's smaller, against the guy who really I haven't seen to be. I think Culibao's better everywhere, personally. So, I mean, Culibao's my pick, but there's just not that much tape on Shaw. Maybe he's next level. Maybe he's the next UFC featherweight champion. But as of right now, the pick's going to be Culibao for me.
No, he got pieced up by Zhu Rong, who didn't look that good last week. But what's interesting about him is he, no matter how much he lacks from the technical standpoint, he's a pretty good brawler in terms of, like, he'll throw you to the ground. He got a nice hip throw. He's got some nice takedowns, and he just goes for it. So he's one of those guys who struggles with activity sometimes, but when it does get to those, like, lots of active takedown affairs, like, he tends to do pretty well. So I'm looking forward to a good fight here. I got Culibao with you as well. I'll take him by decision in this one because I don't know what I'm going to get, but I just hope there's a lot of more volume.
Yep. All right, so we'll go on to the next fight, which is, the best fight for me in terms of betting. The one where I got the most change on. So we got Bruno Silva taking on Victor Rodriguez. So Bruno Silva, 31 years old, 5'4", 65-inch reach. He's currently 11-5-2 with he's currently 11-5-2. He's got 4 knockouts, 4 decisions, 3 submissions, and he's lost by decision 3 times, knockout once, and submission once. He's currently 1-3 in the UFC, picking up his first win in his last fight. He's taking on Victor Rodriguez, who's 5-3, 5-3. I know it says 7-3 here, but I'm pretty sure they're adding amateurs, and that I'm pretty sure he's 5-3. He's 0-1 on a one-fight losing streak. Obviously, he just lost his debut to Yanez. He's 5'5", 67-inch reach, so he's going to be slightly bigger. But at the weigh-ins today, they were practically the same height. I'd find they were like the same size. And I really, I know a lot of people do, but I really like this spot for for Silva here, right? Silva is this guy who, like, he's just better. He's just so well-rounded everywhere. Like, he can grapple, he can wrestle, he can strike. And, you know, his first 3 UFC fights, man, they've been tough. Like, he takes on a juiced Khalid Taha, right? Somewhat competitive, you know, won the second round. Then he fights David Dvorak, who's a top 10 guy, future contender. And then Tagir Ulanbekov, who's much bigger than he is and was known to be very good. And he arguably won that fight. And then he takes on JP Bays, who's, you know, who was a decent fighter, definitely a step down from where he was facing. And what does he do? He absolutely smokes him, right? Finishes him, right? And Rodriguez, this is a guy who's just, I don't think he's very good, right? Like, he's 5-3. He's coming out of the Alaska fight scene. He fights, like, those guys are cans over there, unless you're Jordan Wright. But, you know, like, he's getting finished by such questionable guys, right? Like, guys that aren't that good. He fights Yanez, which is also obviously a tough fight. Like, I'm not going to hold that first round KO against him. Like, what's he supposed to do? Like, Yanez was much bigger, much better, and he took it on short notice. So he's actually got the full camp here. Bruno Silva, I think, is taking it on, like, relatively short notice. Like, he didn't get the full camp in. But, you know, like, Silva, right, he's got great calf kicks, good right hand. You know, he's a longtime training partner of Henry Cejudo. He's got good top control, good wrestling, very explosive. Puts on decent pressure, cuts angles well, which I assume he's going to be doing in this fight. He throws good combinations. He's quick. Good jab, right? Fights in either stance, throws some spinning stuff. He gets very aggressive if he hurts his opponent, right? Like, he hurt David Dvorak in their fight and almost got him out of there. And he usually has a really good first round. I think that's a really big thing here, right? If you look at his fights, right, he's usually winning the first round, or he's having a really good first round. And if he keeps that trend up, I don't see Victor Rodriguez getting out of the first round here, right? Like, Victor Rodriguez is a guy who's never been to the third round, right? He's never been to the third round. He's been finished in all of his losses. He's finished all of his opponents. And this is just a kid who used to be a featherweight, right? So he's coming down to flyweight now, which is really weird to see guys. Like, it's different if you see, like, guys like Cannonier who go from heavyweight to middleweight, right? They just lose weight. But to go, when you're that small and you go from feather to fly, like, that's really not common, right? So I do question that a little bit. And he's chinny, man. Like, he was getting hurt by everything Yanez threw at him. And Bruno Silva, this guy throws, right? And this guy's finishing his opponents, right, when he's not facing these killers, right? So my plays in this fight is Bruno Silva inside the distance, 1.5 units at -110. I know that was opened at plus money, which is it's a joke, honestly. Like, that's the worst line I've ever seen in my entire life. And I have 4 units on the fight doesn't go to decision at I think it was -160 or something like that. Again, that opened -110, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't really, like, there's no way Bruno Silva is not finishing Victor Rodriguez here, right? Bruno Silva is a guy who's been fed to these really good guys and had competitive fights against them, hurt them, right? And then he gets one step down in competition against JP Bays and he just absolutely smokes him. So I really don't see how Victor Rodriguez lasts in there with Bruno Silva. I just don't see it. And I also like that doesn't go to decision because Victor Rodriguez is a guy that has all of his wins by KO, right? He's an explosive guy. He throws heavy punches. So, you know, if he wins this fight, you've got to think it's by finish. He's not going to win a decision here. And I just don't see Bruno Silva taking this guy to decision over 15 minutes. I think his pressure is going to be too much. I think he's going to land a big right hand. I think he's got good front kicks, good spinning kicks. And I don't think Victor Rodriguez can take it, man. I don't think Victor Rodriguez is UFC level at all. Really, he's inexperienced, right? He's young. He just hasn't faced high-level competition, and now he's taking on a guy like Bruno Silva, who's just been – I know a lot of people have been saying that he was, like, fighting for his job last time, right? And he was. And he showed up, man. Like, he was just given really tough matchups in his first 3 fights, and then he gets one step down, and he absolutely blasts him out of there. So I love this spot for Bruno Silva. He's got good leg kicks, so he can just slow down the explosiveness of Rodriguez. And I just think if Bruno Silva can't get Victor Rodriguez out of there, I think it's a really bad look on him. And this is my most Bruno Silva's honestly him or Damir, my most confident plays on the card. I love Bruno Silva inside the distance. I love the doesn't go to decision, and I'm all over this fight. I love this fight for Bruno Silva.
Yeah, we saw what Silva could do, a step down versus Bays, and he was a huge underdog in that fight. I don't know why. I mean, especially with the level of competition he's had, like this is a really good spot for him in every single way. I think he's better than Rodriguez everywhere. He's got that killer instinct that will just hopefully put him out of there early. I'm with you. I got lucky and snagged the plus 110.
That's
did I just see that? Did I just see TJ over there? Sorry. Yeah, like I got in there at plus 110, and then the more I look at it, the more confident I see on Silva. He's better everywhere. Like you said, he's going to slow down on the explosiveness versus a guy who's never been out of never gone to the scorecards in the first place.
Never gone to the third round.
Yeah, it's insane. Like how do you get plus money on that? And then the more I look at it, I could have taken him to the distance again, but instead I just parlayed him straight with a Bellator play I can talk about later. But no, I'll end up having 2 units on him as well. He's one of my most confident picks on this card. Amazing DraftKings play. He'll be in all my lineups. With that finish potential, he's not even the most expensive guy on the slate too. He's definitely a better DraftKings play than I'm blanking on it here. Than Damir with his low finish upside, right? Yeah. So he's going to score big. I really like him in this spot. Hopefully he comes through for us. But no, I'm with you.
Yeah, like there's just levels, right? Like this is a guy like Victor Rodriguez. I get his first fight was against Yanez, which is a really tough fight. Yanez is a great prospect, but he's getting finished right on like the regional scene against like a really questionable opposition, like guys that should not be finishing you. And Bruno Silva, man, like this isn't like a decision fighter. Like he hits hard, man. He's got a great. I think Bruno Silva by sub is live too. If he wants to take him down, like this guy's got a great. I don't know if he's a black belt or not. I can't remember, but he's got good wrestling and he's got good control on top, right? This is a guy like he can take the fight anywhere he wants and finish this fight. And I think he needs to. I think honestly, if he doesn't finish Victor Rodriguez, I think it's going to hurt his stock. He could put on a dominant 30-24, but if he can't get him out of there, I think that's going to hurt his stock. Like this is a guy in Victor Rodriguez who's just not ready for the UFC, man. He's young, he's inexperienced, and Bruno Silva has faced these killers. He's lasted in there. And I know I keep saying killers, but like. Compared to Victor Rodriguez, they're definitely killers, and they're good prospects, right? Tagir is a great prospect, right? David Dvorak's a great prospect. Khalid Tala, who's juiced up that fight. So yeah, like I love this spot for Bruno Silva. I love the doesn't go to decision. I love Bruno Silva inside the distance. And yeah, my favorite play on the card. But yeah, okay. So we'll go on to the next fight here, and a fight I did not expect having action on.
No.
I did have action on, and it's going to be Claudio Silva versus Court McGee here. So Claudio Silva, 38 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach versus Court McGee, who's 36, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach. So McGee's going to have the 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. So Claudio Silva is 14-2. He is 5-1 in the UFC on a 1-fight losing streak, 14-2 overall. I said that. In terms of his wins, right, he's got 2 knockouts, 9 subs, and 3 decisions, and he's got 1 decision loss. And then we got Court McGee on the other side is 19-10, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, and 9 decision wins. And in his 10 losses, he's only been finished once by KO. The other 9 losses are by decision. So I'll let you start this. How do you see this fight going?
The legend himself, Claudio Silva.
Before you start. Never forget, guys, Claudio Silva beat Leon Edwards. Just wanted to put that out there.
He did. And you know what? I like him here. I know you hate me for it. I know you don't see it, but when you have someone... Okay, this was my downfall last week. It's the same thing as the Grundy play, because you have someone in Grundy who is able to have this one path to victory, and if he succeeds, he wins. Right? Same thing with Claudio Silva. If he gets him down, this man is a killer on the ground. And not even that, like it is a big if. It is a big if, but like no one compares with him. Like I know he's got a questionable gas tank, but he does what he has to do. He takes people out, and he's good at it, man. Like those submission wins he has, they're beautiful submission wins, right? And I'm not a fan of Court McGee. I like Court McGee, but I don't think he's that good. I know he's been facing some good competition, but like I've been fading him a lot recently, and it's done okay for me. But I just think that if Silva's able to get him down, it's game over. And it's a point where even if you can get him down once and tire him out, like I know McGee is younger, but I don't know. The more I think about it, I don't know if I want to play it because Silva does have that very questionable gas tank, horrible striking, and his whole game relies around being on the mat. But I don't know how good Court McGee is in terms of will he be able to stuff those takedowns 15 minutes? Like Silva's gonna stay there, stay in your face. Like he has one path to victory, and he's gonna keep trying to do it. So I don't know. I like Claudio here. I'm excited to see what you want. I'm sorry. I'm excited to hear what you have to say because I know you're big on this fading Mr. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here. But no, I love those fighters in the small cage. You have that path to victory if they execute it, and I really like my chances. But I haven't played anything yet.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say I'm big on it because it is Court McGee, right? You gotta be a little bit cautious, but I like Court McGee here, man. Right? So like Claudio Silva, right? He's got decent left kicks when he's not exhausted, both low and to the body. He throws that left straight down the middle. His chin is wide up in the air when he throws his punches, though. He's got terrible striking defense. But yeah, he's definitely gonna want to take the fight to the ground and implement that game plan. Although I'm very surprised against Kraus how he shot no takedowns pretty much, especially that Kraus was on one leg, which was really, really weird to me. But he's very slow. You know, he spends a lot of energy just winging every punch. He's got a horrible gas tank. Right, he's got no problem getting into a slugfest, which definitely favors McGee in this spot. Right, and if you can counter this guy, you're gonna have success. And Court McGee is a decent counterpuncher, right? Court McGee, if we're looking at his fights, right, he's fighting Carlos Condit. He probably should have won that fight, especially since I don't know why he didn't shoot any takedowns. But Sean Brady, right, he made Sean Brady work in that fight, and he was competitive in that fight, right, putting on the pressure. Probably Sean Brady's hardest fight so far in the UFC. It was his debut, so I'll give him some slack because I do like Sean Brady. Went to a split with Diego Lima. Beat Alex Garcia, lost to Strickland, right? So he's definitely faced a much better level of competition, right? And Claudio Silva, it's just, to me, it's if he can't get this fight to the ground, he's going to lose the fight, the majority of the time here. And Court McGee has fantastic takedown defense, right? This is a guy with 76% takedown defense. The only knock I have on Court McGee is when he does try to get back to his feet, he gives up his back, right? If he does get taken down, he does give up his back, and that is kind of concerning because Claudio Silva is definitely very elite on the ground. Right, but Court McGee, right, he throws more volume on the feet, right? He needs a win here, right? Court McGee needs a winner. He's done 100%. Right, and you're giving me, I got in on Court McGee at plus 110, and if you're going to give me dog money on a guy that basically wins that is going to win the fight unless he gets taken down and subbed, right? With a guy that, while he has 76% takedown defense, while he has a good get-up game as well, if you do take him down, you're not holding him down, right? He always gets back to his feet. It's very difficult to hold down Court McGee. Claudio Silva throws these winging punches. He's not going to knock out Court McGee, right? Court McGee's super durable. Got a great chin, right? And I Court McGee. He's not the best, right? It's not really I'm oh yeah, Court McGee's this super good fighter. It's just Claudio Silva, he's not good, right? He's anything besides when he has your back, he's a really bad fighter, right? He has no technique on the feet. He just throws these punches. He has no cardio, right? And, Court McGee's a guy that, he's never been submitted, right? He's got a good right hand, definitely the more technical striker. He's got good footwork and good head movement. Right? And again, with these fights, he could have arguably, against Diego Lima, I did think he lost that fight. But against Carlos Condit, he broke his nose in the first round, right at the horn. And I really do feel if he didn't get hit with that shot, he probably would have had more success because I think he won that first round up until that point. And I think it's super hard to fight with a broken nose. So, I just think Court McGee is much better on the feet, right? He's higher volume. He's more technical. He mixes it up more. He's the one that should be walking forward. He's got decent pressure himself, and Claudio Silva is going to look to close the distance and take this guy down. And Court McGee is a guy that's difficult to hold down, right? He's hard to hold down. He's hard to take down. So think about all the energy expenditure that Claudio Silva is going to have to put into getting these takedowns, right? We just saw Kyle Dawkins try to take down Phil Haas, couldn't do it. What happened? This guy completely gassed out, right? It's hard to take people down that have good takedown defense, good hips, especially when they're getting right back up to their feet instantly, right? Unless you're Gregor Gillespie, right? It's hard, right? It's hard to do and keep doing it, right? So I like Court McGee here. It's not like I'm all over Court McGee that like I'm like say like I'm more like 55, 60 cap him honestly, because I do think that if Claudio gets him down, it's going to be very difficult for Court McGee to get back up. But Claudio Silva, to me, I'm really low on him. I'm not high on McGee, but I'm really low on Claudio Silva. And you're giving me plus money on Court McGee, who wins this fight, in my opinion, 7 to 8 times if he doesn't get his back taken, right? That, I just think it's a good matchup for Court McGee. He needs the win here. He knows he needs a win here. He's younger, right? So it's not like Court McGee's like you can play like the he's old narrative, because Claudio Silva is older, right? Court McGee's faced a better competition, right? And I just think this is a good matchup for Court McGee, man.
Well, you got to look at it, right? Like if this fight does get to the ground and Silva does get the back, like it's done, right? The thing is, it is a big if. What I did just see, though, I didn't see this before. Silva to sub him, which I know McGee's never been subbed, but he's never fought Claudio Silva, is plus 400. So I might sprinkle that because that is his path to victory. We know it's on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so last week.
Yeah, like his gas tank is horrible. He's literally, if he doesn't get that takedown in the first round and win it on the ground, he's not going to win the fight. So it's also a huge live bet play if you're able to live bet after round 1, Court McGee all day. But yeah, I'm still gonna something. My gut is telling me that Claudio Silva is going to be able to take him down. I know analytics aren't on my side and numbers aren't on my side, but you have someone so well versed in this one. Yeah, I got to work on that, right? Because the more I talk about it, the more I get flashbacks of Grundy versus Vanderaa, right? But Court McGee isn't Nolando Vanderaa. So I don't know. My gut's telling me Silva, but you make some very valid points, so I'm staying off of it.
Yeah, and also to that point, right? Like we're saying, if Claudio Silva gets him down, right, he's going to have success, right? So yes, Claudio Silva's jiu-jitsu, right? He's a multi-time Brazilian jiu-jitsu national champion, right? But his wrestling really, it's not that good, right? His wrestling, like actually getting the fight to the ground, it's not as good as his jiu-jitsu, right? And Court McGee he's a tough guy to hold down, right? Like the only thing that concerns me in this fight, which is why I'm not capping it higher, is if he does get him down, McGee, he gives up the back, which I don't like. But right, like this is a guy who's never been submitted, right? And like to me, this is just like whenever Claudio Silva fights, right, there's always going to be that threat that if he gets the back, you're probably in trouble, right? So I don't really like to play off that too much, because right, you can pretty much say that about like any fight, right? When Claudio Silva's fighting, right? If he does get the back, I just don't see him being able to get Court McGee down. And if he does get Court McGee down, I think Court McGee will get right back up quickly. And I think all the energy expenditure that Silva is going to have to put into his takedowns is going to be a little bit is going to be a lot for him. Not to mention, this guy is a guy who shot not zero, but he didn't shoot a lot of takedowns against James Krause in his last fight. And I really don't know why. I don't. Like, he really didn't shoot that many takedowns, so maybe he comes in with the same game plan and thinks he can outstrike Court McGee. And would I be surprised if Claudio Silva won a decision because swung. Because he swung these harder punches and the judges gave it to him? Probably not, right? But I just think Court McGee, I think he's the more technical striker. I think he throws more volume. And I think if Claudio Silva can't get him out of there in round 1, I think he's going to lose the next 2, and then Court McGee gets it done. Now, again, I didn't even put a full unit because it is Court McGee. I only went 3/4 unit at plus 110 on Court McGee here, so we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes.
All right,
we're getting on to the next fight. So this is my first max bet of the night. I got 10 units on Chris Barnett.
I got Chris Barnett by decision plus 750 all day.
All right, so Rothwell.
Sorry. I don't want to cut you off here, man, but if anyone does not know who Chris Barnett is, this man, absolute legend. He may be my new fighter, just looking at clips. The moves this guy's got, he fights at over 300 pounds, and this man can bust a move, man. He is so agile. In his fights, too, man, he's so agile, and he can dance. That's important in this fight. All right, keep going.
Just max bet Chris Barnett. Don't listen to the breakdown. Just max bet Chris Barnett. But yeah, so Ben Rothwell, 39 years old, 6'4", weighed in at 265.5, 78-inch reach. He is 38-13 now. He's got 28 knockouts, 6 subs, and 4 decision wins. He's been knocked out 4 times, lost by decision 7 times, and been subbed twice. He is 8-7 in the UFC, currently on a 1-fight losing streak, and he's taking on UFC debutant, the GOAT, Chris Barnett, running a 6-fight winning streak here. Chris Barnett is 5'9", came in at 263 today. He's 34 years old, and with a 74-inch reach. So if you guys didn't watch the weigh-ins, right, Ben Rothwell is so much taller and so much bigger than this guy in the height department. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Barnett couldn't even reach how big the height difference is. But, like, there's really not much to break down in this fight, like, realistically. Like, Chris Barnett's a guy who's kind of chinny to a degree, right? He's been in some questionable things. And Ben Rothwell, you know, the guy with so much UFC experience, the guy who's so much bigger than him, right? If Ben Rothwell can't get him out of there, like, he's done. Like, he's done. Like, I don't really see how Chris Barnett really wins this fight. I mean, it's Ben Rothwell, so I'm not laying anywhere near minus 300, minus 360, wherever it's at now. But, you know, Ben Rothwell should win this fight. He's faced way better competition. You know, and he's not really getting finishes now because he's so slow. But, like, the guy has 28 knockouts and 6 submissions. I think the submission could be live here, right? If Ben gets the jiu-jitsu going on Chris Barnett. But, you know, this should be Ben
Barnett
Rothwell
has some grappling
here.
experience, though.
But does he have? But Ben Rothwell is like a pretty decent level of jiu-jitsu. Like, he's decent.
I know.
And Chris Barnett, like, I mean, I hope he wins. I hope he just knocks out Ben Rothwell so he can just, like, start dancing. Honestly, that would be the highlight of my night if Chris Barnett won this fight. But yeah,
I all jokes aside, I do love this guy. He had the biggest smile on his face today, and I'm happy to see what he can do in the UFC. It's just hard to see him go up against Ben, right? It's just not his competition. The ironic part is Ben is going to be one of the smallest guys weight-wise that Barnett has faced in a while. He fights a cruiserweight, doesn't he? Like,
I think so, man. He weighed in like 287 in his last fight, something like that.
Like, yeah, and like, no matter how much you want to take away from him, the guy's agile. He can move around. Can he keep it up for 3 rounds? No. Is he going to get clipped? Probably. But he's just got to use that to his advantage. He's got to move around, maybe just distract Rothwell a bit, you know, bust a move in the center. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Don't ask. I've had these weird, like, visions of Chris Barnett winning a decision. At one point, it's like plus 1,000 on one book. So I don't know. Maybe for the memes, I'll throw some bet credits on it. I'm just kidding. I think Ben Rothwell is live on DraftKings for a finish as well. I do have the fear it might be a low output fight, especially with both these guys. But you never know. Maybe Barnett wants to come in here. He looks like a guy who wants to put on a show. Maybe he goes all for it, blitzes Rothwell, either gets clipped or clipped Rothwell, but no. Yeah, I looked at that. Rothwell by KO was plus 175, I think, which is good. Very, very probable. That's probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah.
I'm not betting against Chris Barnett.
I'd never. It's just Ben Rothwell. Like, I just wouldn't even feel comfortable betting him inside the distance because he's just so, like, tentative now. Like, I get he has these explosions and he's still getting finishes, right? Like, he's not like he's not finishing anymore. So he definitely should finish this fight. But just, like, the way he's fighting now, especially at this price tag, I don't really want to play it. I mean, if I had to play, I'd probably do just Rothwell inside the distance because I do think a sub could be live here. I'm not joking. I think so. But yeah, Ben Rothwell should be the side. But I'll be praying Chris Barnett wins, man. So bad. He just looks like such a nice guy too, man. Like, yeah, all smiles at the weigh-ins.
Such a gem.
But the size difference.
And those dance moves, bro. He's gonna. Oh, I think we should make a fight. We should throw. Who should we throw? Let's throw Brandon Moreno in there versus Chris Barnett for a fight. Who can be the happiest guy at the end of it? Just all smiles everywhere. But no, I'm excited to see this man in the UFC. Hopefully, it's not his last fight if he gets killed. But I think it'll be a nice one.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so we'll get on to the next fight here in a very, 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 very tough fight to call, honestly. A very tough fight for me to read. Honestly, I do have a slight edge, but I could see this fight going either way. Very good fight, though. So we got Bill Algeo taking on Ricardo Ramos. So Bill Algeo, 31 years old, 6 foot, 73-inch reach. He's 14-5. He's got 3 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 5 decisions. He's never been knocked out. He's lost by sub twice and by decision 3 times. He's 1-1 in the UFC, right? Obviously beating Spike Carlisle in his last fight and losing his debut to Ricardo Lamas. Now he's taking on Ricardo Ramos, who is 14-3, 5-2 in the UFC, coming off a loss to Lerone Murphy. He is 5'9", the 72-inch reach, so he's going to be at the height disadvantage in this fight. He's got 3 knockouts, 7 submissions, and 4 decisions. He's been knocked out twice, lost by submission once, and never lost a decision. But yeah, how do you see this fight playing out? Because I've seen a lot of mixed takes on this fight. Right? Obviously, this is like a rescheduled fight. I just think that it could go a lot of different ways. Both guys have their strength. Both guys are decent. I feel like both guys are very similar too in the way they fight. But how do you see this fight going?
This is a fight where when it was first booked, I had plus money on Bill Algeo, and I was really happy with it. But the way the line is now, I can't play that. Like I think it's a really, really close fight, and I might even edge Ramos here. I don't think Algeo should be minus 130 in some places. Both these guys are very good fighters. Like they can have their way, but it's one of these fights where you don't know what's going to happen. Like Algeo, he throws a lot of volume. He uses his range, and he does it pretty well. But he can be a little reckless himself. Like he's keeps those hands low. He doesn't mind being in the brawl, and like he doesn't defend his kicks or takedowns very well at all. And it's something that I think wasn't he. No, he was never lost to low kicks, but he doesn't defend them well at all, and he's not very good with his takedowns. He loses his position in the clinch, and it's one of those things where if he's not able to keep Ramos at range and just outpoint him with volume, I don't see Algeo finishing him. And if Ramos definitely has a path to victory here, he can be smart. Like he's got pretty good takedowns. Like they're both BJJ black belts, but I'd give the edge to Ramos on the ground. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I got no action on it. I hope it's a brawl because they don't mind getting into them. So I hope it's a nice big brawl. But I'm gonna edge Ramos here just because of how reckless Algeo can be. But I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat to you, except I think I would edge Algeo just slightly, right? Like, so if we look at the numbers, right? So Bill Algeo, right? He throws a ton of volume, right? Way more volume than Ramos, right? But yeah, he's very hittable, right? Only a 38% striking defense, right? He keeps his hands very low, and like you said, those leg kicks, man. If Ramos can get those leg kicks going, right? Like Algeo does not check leg kicks at all. So that could be pretty substantial. But so far in the UFC, right, Bill Algeo's looked okay. I thought he honestly looked better against Lamas than he did against Spike, right? Like Spike was really tired. Like I was considering potentially paying Bill by KO pre-tape just because I know he doesn't have a lot of KOs, but he does throw some big shots, and Ramos, he's kind of like a quitter, right? He just like not very chinny and kind of just like gives up when he's in bad situations. But Bill Algeo, like he couldn't finish Spike Carlisle there. He had all the opportunities in the world, right? Spike was exhausted. So that kind of concerns me about Bill. But he's super tough, man. Super tough guy, very tall, very long. Obviously, he's got a good black belt in BJJ, but right, like he has been subbed twice. And like you said, I agree. I think Ramos, if it gets to the ground, you got to edge Ramos. And Ramos does have a rear naked choke victory on his resume, and Bill Algeo has been submitted by rear naked choke. So I think if he could get his back, he could potentially get a submission here. But he's difficult to hold down, right? Like he's been taken down quite a few times, but right, he's hard to actually like hold down on the mat. But on the feet, I'm gonna edge Algeo just due to volume. I think he's a little bit more accurate. I think he throws better combinations. He does kind of have low fight IQ to me, right? Like he had Spike hurt, and then he shot for a takedown, right? In some of his regional scene fights as well, like he just sometimes shows low IQ in moments. His cardio is pretty good though. He slows down, but he keeps throwing, right? His volume doesn't wear. And yeah, like in terms of Ramos, I think they're very similar styles, right? They're very unorthodox, very dynamic kicks, but those calf kicks of Ramos are deadly. Um, um, but Ramos, the reason I'm edging Algeo here is I just think that if this fight does somewhat get into a brawling situation, I think if Ramos can't get him to the ground, right, Algeo is just way tougher in my opinion. He's way more durable. He's way tougher, right? Like in the fight Ramos versus Murphy, like that was, to me, I think that's a really bad look for Ramos. Like he just like gave up. Like he was on his back and he just wasn't even defending. Like he just was getting punched in the face and just lied there and really wasn't defending himself, wasn't trying to get back to his feet. So that was a really bad luck in my opinion from watching it. But he's got good footwork, good inside trip takedowns, and he's still very young, right? He's only 25 years old, so he's definitely got a lot of upside. I think he's kind of like a Luis Pena type guy in the sense that he has like a lot of tools, but it's all about execution. I don't know if he's there yet. But he's not the most accurate striker, right? He has like a 30-something% striking accuracy. So honestly, I see this fight can go either way. On the feet, I don't really know who pressures. I think they probably just meet in the middle and throw. I think Algeo will have a little bit more success with the accuracy. I think he'll have more success with the volume. I think if Ramos gets the leg kicks going, that's going to completely change the fight. I think if it gets to the ground, I'm going to edge Ramos, but I don't know if Ramos can get him down and hold them down. So it's just a really, really weird fight, that can go in either direction. I think it could be a finish, right? So the under on that fight is not terrible, but I do think it goes to the cards. I think that if there is a finish, it's going to be on the Bill Algeo side, but he's not really like a finisher, right? Like he's just kind of like volume puncher, in my opinion. So very, very, very tough fight to call. I see people on both sides. From a betting perspective, I'd stay away. If you had to play it, I'd probably take the guy with plus money. If you had to make a play just for the more value, but I'm gonna slightly lean Bill Algeo on the volume and on the slightly better striking in this fight.
See, I think at range, it's Algeo all day. He does a really good job of using that range to his advantage. But as soon as he closes distance, and even in the clinch, he just seems so reckless to me. And we've seen Ramos throw those spinning elbows over and over again.
Deadly.
Like it's one of those things where something like that could change the tide of the fight immediately. I think if it gets to the clinch, Ramos has better head position. He's able to throw those shots in the clinch that Algeo just doesn't seem too comfortable with. Like he prefers fighting at range in my eyes. So I think if Algeo sticks to his game plan of staying away, he'll be able to land the more significant strikes and more volume. But he just can't get reckless when he blitzes in if he does.
Yep, agreed. All right, so that is our featured prelim now, with the changing since Dvorak fight got moved to the main card. So now we're going to get into the most intriguing fight on the card besides the main event, in my opinion. Jack Hermansson taking on Edmen Shabazyan. And so if we look into the fighter breakdowns here, so Jack Hermansson is 32 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. Edmen Shabazyan is 23, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. So Edmen is going to be slightly taller. He looked to be slightly taller than Jack too, but he's going to be at the 3-inch reach disadvantage. So Jack Hermansson is 21-6. Got 11 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 4 decisions. And he has lost by knockout, submission, and decision 2 times each. Edmen Shabazyan on the comeback, he's 11-1, right? 9 knockouts, a submission, and a decision, and he's been knocked out once, right? So Edmen Shabazyan, man, he's just such a wild card, right? When I first taped this fight, right, I was all over Jack Hermansson. I thought Jack Hermansson was definitely the side here, right? I just thought, hey, another experienced guy, another decent wrestler, good top control, more proven guy. But like looking more into it and just considering it, like Edmen Shabazyan is such a wild card, man, because right, this guy, he's obviously very good, right? Coming in minus 400 against a guy like Derek Brunson is obviously like the guy, and people were on that too. I know a lot of people that were on Edmen Shabazyan there at that price tag. So the kid's obviously got a lot of skills. He's a very good striker. But right as of right now, I just don't see how you can back him at the price tag. I personally don't see it, because from all that we've seen on tape, when this kid doesn't get the first round KO, he's just not good at all, right? Like Darren Stewart, like this guy was exhausted, right? He was getting kind of dominated in the third round by Stewart. Obviously, Brunson destroyed him once he gassed. So, if Jack Hermansson gets out of the first round, like, you've got to think that the tide's swing in Jack Hermansson's favor. And I see a lot of people saying, like, Jack's durable, Jack's fragile. He's got like a glass chin. And like, yeah, maybe he is a little bit fragile, but like, the guy is tough, man. Like, he got rocked by Vettori, but he got back up and he had a broken orbital from that moment, and he fought the whole 25 minutes, right? Like, this is a guy who's tough. He's not going to go down easy. Could Edmen get the first round KO? Yeah. Right. But Edmen Shabazyan he's just such a wild card because, right, since he's so young, at just 23 years old, like, if he comes back with cardio, right? Like, I do think you can't just magically get cardio, but when you're 23 years old, right, like, it's definitely, like, you can definitely improve it. I don't think he's going to come back and have, like, Neil Magny type cardio, but I definitely think he's going to have better cardio in this fight, right? And he's just such a such a wild card, man, right? Like, I think if the fight gets to the ground, he's kind of screwed. I don't think his takedown defense is that good, right? So if Jack gets him down, I think Jack finishes him. But if Jack can't get him down, Edmen is definitely alive. I'm definitely on the Jack Hermansson side of things. I'm not taking Edmen Shabazyan at this price when we literally just saw him get dominated. And it's been, 9 months, and now all of a sudden people are backing him again because they think he's just going to magically have all these things. I just don't. I don't really get it, in my opinion. And Jack Hermansson, he's a proven tough guy, right? He's faced a much better competition. He throws more volume than Edmen Shabazyan does, right? He lands over 5 significant strikes per minute. He's the only problem with Jack Hermansson is, right, he's a known slow starter, and being a slow starter against Edmen Shabazyan is a little bit concerning. But if the fight gets out of the second round, out of the first round, I think the tide's turn in Hermansson's favor. He's someone that gets better as the fight progresses, right? He's got good knees in the clinch, good low kicks. He's got a good hook shot. Definitely has the cardio advantage, right? He throws decent combinations, a decent jab, and I think he's going to be right in Edmen's face here. I don't think Edmen's going to be the one dictating the pace like he was against Brad Tavares, right? I think Hermansson's he knows he can't strike with this kid for 3 rounds, right? That's not a good game plan. He's going to be in his face right off the gate, getting in his face, putting on the pressure, looking for that takedown. And Edmen is not as efficient of a striker on the back foot. He's just not. He's just not the same type of guy when he's on the back foot. That's also could tire him. So this fight, it just has so many wild cards. I think Jack Hermansson does have value, but because Edmen's such a wild card and because he is so good on the feet, and that Hermansson, he is a little fragile. I don't think he's like going to get knocked out with the first punch, but his chin is it's not amazing what I would want. And because he's going to be the one moving forward, right, I lean Jack Hermansson, but there's no bet for me here in terms of a side perspective. But yeah, how do you see this fight going? Because I know we were pretty confident, except I kind of faded off. So
I've had a Hail Mary parlay going for, I think it's been 6 weeks now, with a couple fights in each card, and I had this Hermansson fight. I had Hermansson in this fight all day. I won them all. All I got left is Hermansson over Shabazyan and Edwards over Diaz. And like that read I made back then, pre-tape, is the same thing I see during tape. Like, you can't teach heart, and Edmen gave up that last fight, and that's not what you want to see in a fighter. I love fighters who give it their all, and he didn't want to be there. And he's so young. He hasn't fought the same level of competition. And I think that he's making a huge mistake going back in there with someone as good as Hermansson. I think maybe even a step up from Brunson in certain categories. I think he should have slowed down, try to improve himself a bit more. I do think he has a path to victory if he's able to get Jack to strike with him for 3 rounds. Don't think that's going to happen. I know Jack Hermansson is a very smart fighter. I love him on the ground. I think he's a lot more durable than people think. Like, he stayed around, he cleared those cobwebs, and he went 5 with Vettori after getting rocked in that first round. And I'm all over Hermansson here. Like, I think he wins by sub, but I don't see this going all 3 rounds. I think Hermansson will wear him down, test his will to be there, and really just put on the pressure and make Edmen not feel too happy about being in the cage.
Yeah, I mean, I think the under. I've been going back and forth for like a day now if I should play the under or not at like -170. The only thing that concerns me about the under, is something just tells me that Edmen's going to fight much more conservative. But on the other side, I think Jack Hermansson's going to be in his face, man. You can't let a guy like Edmen Shabazyan dictate the pace of the fight on the feet. Because if Edmen can pick his spots, this guy lands, and he lands hard. Like, he is a finisher. Yes, he's faced questionable level of competition, but you can just see he's clearly technical. He's clearly powerful. But I just don't really see Jack Hermansson playing on the outside here. I think he's going to get the center, establish the center, push Edmen back on the back foot. Smaller cage, favors the grappler. I think eventually he'll shoot the takedown. And from what I've seen, Edmen doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. I think if Jack's smart, which I think he is, I think he just has to keep shooting the takedown. Like, I think Jack Hermansson's a lot better than people give him credit for, and especially with the striking. Like, people act like this guy can't strike, which is just not true in my opinion. Like, he can clearly strike. Like, he was having success against Vettori, right? His striking's definitely improved. He has a weird style, but he's got decent accuracy. The only thing I don't like is how he has a high guard, but it just seems like every shot gets through. So the first round is definitely sketchy if you're a Jack Hermansson backer. I think the under 2.5 is a good look, especially. I really want to find out, because the normal total, like what they line the total, that's 1.5. Like, I want to know totals that have been lined at 1.5. What percentage of those totals actually go over 2.5? I'm really interested to see that percentage. Because I don't think it goes over 2.5 rounds. Like, if Edmen wins, I definitely think it's the first or second round for sure. But Edmen's been saying how he's went back to the gym, right, worked on that cardio, and he's ready for a 15-minute fight. And if the finish is there, he'll take it. But something just tells me that Edmen's going to be very conservative in this fight, like kind of be more chill. And that kind of concerns me, considering that he would contribute a lot to the under. But I do think if Jack gets him down, I think Jack has his way with him. This guy's got the most underrated ground and pound in the game. Like, people think that he's only going to get the sub if he gets him down. Like, that's not necessarily true. Like, the guy's got vicious ground and pound if he's on top. He throws heavy shots, and the sub, I think, will be there, right? This guy's subbing. Guy almost sub Jacare, sub David Branch, sub Gerald Mearshart, right? These are good guys on the ground. So I think Jack Hermansson gets this done. Sub Gastelum too, yeah. So I think if the fight gets to the ground, I think Jack Hermansson's got him here all day. And I just don't agree with backing Edmen at this price. Could Edmen win? Yes. But you're literally banking on him making the improvements to his cardio, making the improvements to his takedown defense. And at plus 140, there's just no value there, in my opinion. So yeah, I think Jack Hermansson's the side here. I think I would prefer the under over Jack Hermansson, just because I do think an Edmen finish is more likely than like a Jack decision. In case Edmen's made those improvements. But I don't know. It's tough. I'm probably going to stay off, but the only thing I'm considering is the under 2.5.
Fair.
Okay, so we will get on to the next fight. So we got a literal hours notice replacement. David Dvorak taking on Juancamilo Roderos. And right, this is a guy who helped David Dvorak prepare for this fight, guys. Like, if you go to his Instagram, he helped David Dvorak prepare for this fight. Like they trained together, right? So these guys know each other. They're familiar with each other. And obviously this is such a late minute replacement, so I really haven't done too much tape on this new guy. But he's 4-0, so he's inexperienced, and the height difference is substantial. This guy is 5'3", right? And he's very short. And David Dvorak is, I think he's 5'8", if I'm not mistaken. 5'5". Oh, 5'5". But he looked much more than 2 inches taller than his opponent, in my opinion. He looked much bigger. And David Dvorak is just he's a good fighter, man. Like, I don't really have much on this. I didn't really get too much tape on this other guy. All I know is that David Dvorak's a good fighter. I picked him over Raulian Paiva to win the fight. I've got to pick him over this newcomer who's taking it on under a day's notice. But yeah, do you have any opinions from watching this guy? You watch this guy on tape at all?
See, I looked at just highlights, and the man can finish. Like, he's good on the ground, very, very good on the ground. But he's facing a level of competition. Definitely nowhere near the side of David Dvorak. But you got to think there's something more going on. Like, they're friends. I'm pretty sure Dvorak's the one who recommended him to fight that. So is there some sort of deal made? Like is there going to be Like, is Dvorak going to take it easy and let it go to decision, or you can try to get the bonus and split some of it with Ronderos? Like with two people who are friends and you get an hour replacement, like you've got to fade the favorite, obviously, but you don't know how it's going to go. Like, I definitely do not see how Ronderos wins this, but I don't know how Dvorak does. Like, does he take it early and hurt a friend, or does he let it go and be nice? Like, I don't know what kind of version we're getting. There's a huge psychology behind it. It's a fight I really want to stay away from. I think Dvorak is a great price tag now on DraftKings because he was slated to fight someone with a much lower line. So he's going to be great value. So I really like him. But I just don't. I can't get a good read on it. Like, if say you're fighting someone you train with, like, well, Banderas is going to know Dvorak's game plan, but it's not going to help him much. But what's going to happen, really? That's the real question.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I think David Dvorak is definitely live for a finish here. Like, this is a guy who hasn't gotten a finish in the UFC yet, but on the regional scene, like, he was on like a 14 fight finish streak or something like that, something crazy like that, 13 fight finish streak. This is a guy who's riding so much momentum right now, right? He was training for a much tougher guy in Paiva. And, you've got to favor Dvorak here. Like, I don't really see you can ever take this guy on short notice, especially at like plus 300. So David Dvorak should win this fight. But again, like you said, like, who knows like what's going on here? Like, a minus 500, like, Dvorak probably has value in hindsight at minus 500 because he is a very good fighter. And this is a guy who's 4-0, much smaller, much more inexperienced, hasn't faced anywhere near like any caliber of who Dvorak's faced. I know Dvorak hasn't faced like amazing competition outside the UFC, but he faced decent competition outside the UFC, and he's faced UFC opponents. Like, this guy has half the UFC fights as this other guy has fights, right? So got to favor David Dvorak here, but no bet here. Maybe David Dvorak inside the distance when the props come out, just because I don't see how he doesn't finish this fight. Like, this guy's a finisher, right? Just because he hasn't finished his 2 UFC fights so far doesn't mean he's not a finisher. Like, I'm going to pull up the exact amount of how much fights this guy has finished, or the streak that he was on. Like, he's not a decision guy, right? Like, he has 15 out of his 19 wins by finish. Like, here, so we got sub, TKO, TKO, sub, TKO, TKO, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fight finish streak, right? So this guy's finishing. Like, he is a finisher, man. Even though it doesn't look like it, I feel like a lot of misconception is, especially with guys like this, is they don't look like finishers when they get to the UFC. But you have to remember, like, this guy that he's fighting, this guy's not a UFC fighter. He, just because it's taking place in the UFC does not mean that this guy is a UFC fighter, right? This is a 4-0 kid who's, he looks okay on tape, but right, he hasn't really faced any competition. He's only got 4 pro fights. So you've got to think David Dvorak finishes this fight, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's just really hard to, like, the whole dynamic of you fighting your friend is really tough for me to grasp. Like, on one side, maybe he makes it easy for him and takes him out right away so he doesn't have to fight much, and both guys get paid. On the other side, he doesn't want to hurt him. He takes a decision, wins easily. Like, you got to think he wins inside the distance.
I mean, also
you never know when you're facing it. Yeah, I will look for that. It's not out yet, is it? No, not even close.
No. Like, if it's like plus like 150 or something like that, like, I gotta take that. Even plus money, I would consider, because like, right, like, if David Dvorak takes this guy to a decision, like, that's not really a good look. Like, that's gonna be a bad look for his next fight if he can't finish this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's his friend. You don't know the dynamic. I mean, I don't even know if they're friends. I just know they train together. Like, they maybe it was just like one session or something, but like, he was like rooting him on, and he was like saying, "Oh yeah, I'll see you there in the future," right? So it's just like they seem friends. So I don't really know, man. It's just I'm just upset the Paivas though, because I was really excited for that fight, honestly. Yeah, we'll get on to the next fight here, and I can't wait to hear you break this one down, because what is this? This is like your lock of the year. So Felicia Spencer taking on Norma Dumont. So Felicia Spencer, 30 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach. Norma Dumont, also 30, 5'7", 67-inch reach. So they're very similar in terms of that. Spencer's definitely thicker. But Felicia Spencer is 8-2, 2 knockouts, 4 submissions, 2 decisions. Never been finished. 2 losses are by decision. And she's taking on Norma Dumont, who is 5-1. 1-1 in the UFC, currently on a 1-fight win streak. So yeah, have the floor, my man.
I just want to label, the amount of disrespect that Felicia Spencer is getting, I don't see it at all, man. Why are sorry. Okay, let me cool myself here, man. You have someone who went to decision with Cyborg and Nunes, right? Two arguably of the greatest women female fighters, right? And she's coming down and she's facing, like, okay, she lost big time. We get it. But you don't expect her to win that bad, right? But she's coming in and facing Norma Dumont, someone who's 1-1 in the UFC, and her only win was to someone who usually fights at 125. All right? Didn't even finish her. Looked okay in it, but I just don't know how you pick Dumont here. Like, sure, Spence's striking isn't great, but she's such a brute. She can take those shots. She'll clinch in. She can take her down, and her ground game is so underrated. She's so good on the mat. I think she's really in the clinch as well. And she's fighting Norma, who's just not the same level as her. Like, nowhere near. When she's fought people like Norma Dumont, she's destroyed them. Like, if you watch her highlight tape or her old tapes on Invicta, like, she destroyed that level of competition there. And, like, she's one of those women, when you look at her, she doesn't look like a fighter sometimes, but she can fight, like, especially on the ground. Her ground and pound's insane. She's got great submissions. Took out Megan Anderson in there, someone who knocked out Dumont within, 3 minutes in their fight, right? And I know it's hard to look at that because Spencer's not going to knock out Dumont with one punch like that because it's just not her way she fights, right? But I don't know how so many people can be on Norma here with nothing to back that up. Like, how does Norma win? Like, I know we've had a lot of conversation about it, and I know a lot of people hate on Spencer's striking, but it's not like she's fighting, like, Amanda Nunes or Chris Cyborg. She's fighting Norma Dumont, someone who I was going to bet Erin Blanchfield over her. Someone whose cardio is not good, someone whose ground game is really untested, and someone who's not going to knock the lights out of Felicia Spencer. I do not see a path to victory for Dumont. I think it's insanely disrespectful that she got bet down all the way to minus 150. Like, I had already 2 units on her at minus 210, parlayed with someone from last week that hit already. And as soon as she got down to minus 150, I almost max bet that. Like why? Like, I'm happy to, like, we've talked about it all week. I'm excited for you what you're going to say. It's just, I don't know how you're backing someone who's 5-1, who should really be 4-1 if she's fighting people from her division, and she's facing against Felicia Spencer, who's, if she's not fighting the 2 best fighters in the division, she's winning, right? So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first looking at it, right? Like, for me, right? At first I was kind of split. Like, not split. I definitely did lean Spencer a little bit, but I understood why the line was bet down to like minus 175 range. But I don't know. It's definitely, if you guys haven't watched the Mariana Moraes fight, like, that's the fight. I think everyone on Norma has not seen that fight because that fight is tough to find, right? And it's just a situation where Norma Dumont was controlled for 7 minutes on the ground, taken down 3 times by Mariana Moraes. Like, if you're going to compare Moraes to Spencer in terms of the grappling, you can't, right? And I get it, right? Spencer, like, you hit the nail on the head, man. Like, when she's not fighting the 2 best fighters in the world, she's winning and she's finishing for the most part, right? Like, Amanda Nunes has smoked absolutely everybody she's faced, right? Like, you can't expect Spencer to because Spencer's striking is not her game. Like, that was obviously predictable what was going to happen. But in the Chris Cyborg fight, like, people are acting like Chris Cyborg walked through her. Like, no, she did not, right? Like, Felicia Spencer, she held her up against the cage. She drained her gas tank. And, obviously she lost on the feet, but that's Chris Cyborg, who's a top 3 women's fighter of all time. And she made her work, right? She made her work.
Oh, she cut up Cyborg. She landed some nice, nasty elbows. And it's something that, if you're looking at Chris Cyborg, someone who's minus 4,000 on certain books today, to not only take her to a decision, but cut her up as badly as she did and put up such a fight, only in her, I think, it was like her 7th fight in pro MMA. Like, this girl is like the real deal. And Cyborg was killing everybody. Wasn't she favored to beat Nunes? Like, Cyborg is one of the greatest fighters in the division, and Spencer made her work for it. She is an amazing fighter, and the level of competition from going to Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes, to Norma Dumont. And it's just unbelievable. Sorry, I'll let you keep going. I just
man.
have some pretty strong opinions.
I agree. I agree with you for sure. Like, it's just people are backing Norma. Like, people are backing Norma Dumont as if Norma Dumont is like proven to be good. Like, they see Felicia Spencer's striking abilities, and they go, and then they see Norma Dumont piece up Ashley Evans Smith, who's coming in with an injury, who fights at 125, who's arguably the worst fighter on the UFC roster for women. Like, she's just not that good, and she was the underdog in that fight. Like, you're telling me that she's going to be the same underdog price versus Ashley Evans Smith as Felicia Spencer? Like, come on, man. Like, the odds maker opened her up at minus 350. I do think that is probably a bit wide. I do. I think that's a bit too wide. I think Spencer maybe minus 300, minus like 275 is more fair, just because if Norma Dumont has made improvements to her grappling and can keep the fight standing, she does have potential to win this fight. But even on the feet, it's not like Norma Dumont is that good of a striker, man. Like, sure, her hands look great against Ashley Evans Smith. I am not denying that. Do I think she's the better striker than Felicia Spencer? Yes, I do. Right? But this is a girl who's had 6 professional fights, 2 in the okay, I'm going to break down her 6 professional fights. 3 of them against Cans. Okay? Then she goes and fights Mariana Moraes, wins that fight, loses that fight, very close fight, gets controlled for 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That's in 2018. Okay, that's in 2 years. Norma Dumont's not like a 23-year-old Edmen Shabazyan who could come out here and make improvements, right? She's pretty much where she is. Sure, she could be making improvements. She's got to expect it, but she's taking the fight on short notice, so she's not having as much time to prepare for the grappling. And Spencer's just like, she's not just going to strike with her for 15 minutes. She's going to wrestle her, and if she gets her down, she's going to finish her. I really think she's going to finish her in this fight. Like, Dumont got controlled for a lot of time, and I see some people arguing me saying that Norma Dumont doesn't have a bad gas tank and saying that she just got caught with like a good shot by Megan Anderson. That is, I'm sorry, you didn't watch the fight. She was so labored. She was exhausted. She was backing up. She was not looking good. She threw like a looping punch with her chin wide up in the air. Like, obviously she's going to get KO'd, right? And Felicia Spencer's 100% live for a finish here, man. Like, Norma Dumont is not, just because Norma Dumont can strike does not mean that she's going to beat Felicia Spencer. Just because you have a girl that can strike, that outstruck Ashley Evans Smith, does not mean that she can fight. This is the same girl who came in as a plus 130 dog to Ashley Evans Smith, okay? And now you're telling me that she was bet down to a plus 130 against Felicia Spencer. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, this, like, size-wise, she matches up well. Okay, I'll give that, right? I don't think Spencer can like ragdoll her because she's also thick, right? Norma's not like a small girl; they're like the same height. But like, you've just got to favor Spencer here, like especially at the price tag. Like, I got in minus 160. I got in a minus 160 for 2 units. And like, even if I see some people arguing like, she lasted with Nunes, she lasted with Cyborg, like, she's super tough, durable, but like she wasn't competitive. Okay, sure. So
name someone who would be competitive.
Like, we can rule out the fact that Norma Dumont's going to get a finish here, right? So now we have to so Dumont's got to get a decision here. So betting, first of all, if you just bet Dumont straight, I think that's a really poor play. Considering that if Nunes and Cyborg are not finishing Spencer, Dumont is not finishing Spencer. If Dumont finishes Spencer, man, like, I don't even know what to say anymore. So she shouldn't finish her. So if you're on Dumont, take her by decision at like plus 275 or something, like whatever it's at now. But you just gotta favor Spencer here, man. Like her takedowns aren't the best. Her wrestling isn't the best, but they're not. It's not bad. And if she gets the fight to the ground, like she gets to the back, she controls her. She's got great ground and pound. I could see her getting KO. I think her KO prop is like plus 800. I think that's way off. That's way off, in my opinion. I think if it gets to the ground,
yeah, if it gets to the ground, she'll look way more than even minus 300. I'm telling you, like this girl's for real. It's sad to see the division closing up. Is this the last fight in the division? Yeah. So it's sad to see that because I love watching Felicia Spencer fight. Like she's the real deal, like, especially if you watch her Invicta fights too. And like it's crazy how I was gonna bet Erin Blanchfield against Norma Dumont, and now I'm gonna get minus 150 on Felicia Spencer. Like in hindsight, I should have put in more than just. I think I have almost 3.5 units on it now. But I thought people were gonna be crazy enough to keep betting Dumont and maybe get even better line on Spencer. But I would still play Felicia Spencer at -175. I'd play her at -200. I play her straight up to -300, 350 because that is how confident I am. Like Norma Dumont is not on her level. And I swear to God, if I get Kyle Dawkins this weekend, I will not be a happy man. But if Felicia Spencer is to lose this, it is going to be it won't be Felicia Spencer fighting because she knows what she has to do. She's going to barge into that clinch. She's going to take her down. She's going to tire her out, and she is going to finish her. I'm going to put some money on her inside the distance. I know what. I'm just waiting for it, and I can't wait. All right.
Yeah, and just the last thing, man. Like people like on the ground, like Norman Dumont. Like you look at the numbers, and Dumont has 100% takedown defense. Like that is against one girl who came into the fight with an injury, with a nagging injury, who is a 125 pounder. Obviously, she's not going to take her down. Like Dumont looks so much better in that fight. Like I don't think Dumont's a bad fighter. I think Dumont is kind of decent. I think she does have good technique. I think she has good boxing. I think her wrestling is not terrible. I think she's a brown belt in BJJ. But there's levels, and like even if Dumont wins the fight, like I just don't see how you can be confident in Norma Dumont. If you're gonna take her like plus like 280 or whatever she opened up at, I can see it personally. Okay, I get it. I think that's a bit too wide, but I like plus like 150. I just don't see it because what has she done? Like she's had 2 fights, and you're basically telling me that because she beat up Ashley Evans Smith, who Spencer would finish, that now she's deserving of this price tag. Like if she wins, good for her, man. She's gonna have to have made big improvements on the ground because if Mariana Moraes is taking you down and controlling you on the mat, Felicia Spencer is going to take you down and control on the mat. Felicia Spencer's striking is not very good. Even if this fight stays standing, like Dumont is not this outstanding next level striker, man. Just because she beat up Ashley Evans Smith, will she have the advantage? Yes, but Spencer lands decent like left hands over the top to close distance, and once she's putting her up against the cage, I don't think Dumont's gas tank is going to be there. Felicia Spencer is not someone who's going to slow down, and if she gets one takedown, I think she finishes the fight or at least drains the gas tank. I don't see Dumont getting back up. I think it's a good spot for Spencer, especially with the line coming down a bunch. I'm with you, man. I was even at the beginning, but after that Moraes fight, like that was only 2 years ago. Unless Dumont's made significant improvements, like it's she's gonna lose this fight.
Oof, I'm excited. All right. I'll talk about this all day.
Moving on to the penultimate fight to the co-main event. We got Justin Tafa versus Jared Vanderaa. Don't know why this is on the main card, but we'll break it down anyways because that's what we do here. So Justin Tafa is 27, 6 feet. What did he weigh in today? I think he weighed in at 265.5 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Something like that though. But he's got a 74-inch reach. Jared Vanderaa is much bigger, right? 6'4", 80-inch reach. So 4-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage. They're still both on the right side of 30. Justin Tafa's only 4-2. Right, 4-2, 1-2 in the UFC, currently on a 1-fight losing streak, and Jared Vanderaa is 1-1, currently on a 1-fight losing streak himself. Jared Vanderaa is 11-5. So I'm not going to spend an immense amount of time on this because, right, like it's a very low level fight. But Justin Tafa, he's got good left body kicks. I think he actually looked pretty solid against Carlos Felipe. I know a lot of people were writing him out, like taking Felipe there. But Justin Tafa showed he won that fight. Like, there's no argument in my opinion. He looked good, right? He looked very calm, very patient, picked his shots. Again, good left body kicks, good low kicks with his lead right leg, good left hand, right? He goes straight up top, good body shots, good left uppercut as well. He's got decent speed in his punches too. His cardio looks like it's not the worst in the world, right? Like he went a solid 15 minutes with Felipe, didn't look terrible. Good counter right hooks, decently strong in the clinch, right? He pushed up De Castro against the clinch pretty well. And he just lost concentration and just got a bit overzealous in that fight. And in his interviews, man, like he's saying he does not want to get into a war. He wants to put on a striking clinic. And if you guys have watched any Jared Vanderaa interviews or look up Jared Vanderaa interviews, and you still bet him, I'm really confused because this guy said he predicts a spinning wheel kick KO. Jared Vanderaa said that. So clearly he's not in the right space, but he's coming off a brutal TKO loss just 3 months ago, where he got mauled. He got absolutely mauled. His face was destroyed. But he puts on some decent pressure when he's going forward. He also throws good leg kicks, good lead jab hooks. Good. He is definitely hittable though, right? He takes big shots. He's got a good chin on him, but he's definitely hittable. And yeah, he's got some decent offensive wrestling. He's going to have to take this fight to the ground. Like Tafa off his back isn't the best. That's what he's going to have to do here. But, the line, like I know some money's been coming on Jared Vanderaa here. It's at minus 180 Justin Tafa, like plus 155 for Vanderaa. Don't love either side. This is just low-level heavyweights. I'm trying my hardest never to get engaged in low-level heavyweight fights ever again. So pass for me.
I'm scared to say my say what I want to say now after that. But no, the thing is, Jared Vanderaa is probably either really, really smart from a comedic point of view, but he's not smart. Like this man it shows he's been beat up a few times, I think. And you watch his Contender Series interview at the end. He was saying how, I don't know. Me and my roommate were watching it and saying how he was an ugly man, and he was showing off his TikTok, and it made me laugh. But I think this man, Jared Vanderaa, is one of those guys who, against lower level fighters, he has a chance. He has a weirdly insane chin and has one of the best ground and pounds I've seen. Somehow, and I know it's all against low-level fighter. He gets a step up, he gets killed, right? But I have this weird feeling that if Tafa slips, gets taken down, or he ends up on the mat, Vanderaa could put him out. And I don't know why. It's just because Tafa's such like a turtle off his back. He's not getting up. And whereas Vanderaa's takedown defense is horrible, and he's horrible off the back himself, he's able to land insane blows. Now, I thought he'd look a lot bigger than he did today at the face-offs. I thought he'd be a lot bigger than Tafa, like height-wise. But I would never, ever throw a full unit on Vanderaa. But I'm going to play half the unit on him to finish him, because I think if he gets him down and ranges down some grounded pound, I think he can take out Tafa, just because he can't take that damage off his back. He can't get up. And if Vanderaa ends up on top, I think that's the end. And whereas it's a very sketchy play, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, he's a brute. His nickname's the Mountain. Like, he reminds me of the guy from Game of Thrones. Like, he can take these shots and still power through. And it's just one of those fights, like you said, low-level heavyweight, you never know what can happen. And when I get like plus 275, plus 285, I think I got, on someone to just off chance that he clips Tafa or gets him down, like, I'm going to take that. And I'm not going to put a full unit because it is Jared Vanderaa. I don't think he should be in the UFC at all. But I'm not huge on Tafa. I will fade his ground game any day. But let's just hope Jared's got a brain on him and he can take him down a bit, rain some ground and pound on him, and get him out of there. He is going to be my punt play of the week for DraftKings. I will have 1 or 2 lineups with him. It's all or nothing, because if Vanderaa finishes, he's going to be low owned. He's going to be super cheap, and I will make some money. But I'm not going to lay a lot of this low level fight. I don't know why it's the Coco main, I guess, the third fight. But oh well. Hopefully someone goes night-night and we get a good fight.
Yep. Agreed. All right, so we'll get on to the co-main event now, and a very, very, very intriguing fight in terms of how it will play out between Xiaonan and Carla Esparza. So, Xiaonan is she is 31 years old, 5'5", 63-inch reach. Carla Esparza is 33 years old, 5'1", with a 63-inch reach. So 4-inch height advantage from Yan, and you could clearly see she was a little bit taller than Carla, albeit she did have shoes on. Carla didn't, so she probably looked a bit taller than she was. But she definitely has the height advantage in this fight. Yan is 13-1, currently 6-0 in the UFC, riding an 11-fight win streak. She has got 5 wins by knockout, 8 by decision, and she's been subbed once. Carla Esparza on the other side of things is 17-6, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions, and 10 decisions. She's lost by decision 3 times, KO twice, and submission once. And this is a classic striker versus grappler matchup. And how do you see this one playing out?
I gotta stop doing this, man. I like Esparza here for the only reason is she's got a plan and she sticks to it. Like, we haven't seen much from Yan's takedown defense, especially I consider Esparza to be one of the best grapplers in the division in terms of wrestling. Like, she knows what she has to do and she does it. And whereas I'm not going to bet it at all because I do think it's very plausible that Yan stuffs those takedowns and beats her up from range. But Esparza is known to wrestle and lay on people, and it wins her fights. Like, there's no way that she should be beating the fighters that she does, but she's good at what she do. She's good at what she does, and props to her for it. Like, if she's able to take down and exploit people's weaknesses on the ground, like, good for her. You deserve to win. But I'm not confident on it. I wouldn't bet it. Even at the plus money I got, because Yan is a good fighter. I do really like her, but when you have a specialist in one area, I tend to be a simp for them because I took Mike Grundy. I'm going to take Claudio Silva, but small cage, you should assume Esparza has a better chance than the line saying.
Yeah, I think the opening line was like minus 190 for Yan, plus 160 on Carla. That's way off. I mean, this is like, I get the love both sides. For me, I'm just going to take it out of your book, just the big X down the middle for this one, honestly. Yan is, she just throws, she throws a ridiculous amount of volume, right? 6.4 significant strikes per minute, good footwork, good counter punches, good 1-2 down the middle, tons of combinations. Again, the size advantage, but this is pretty much everything with Carla Esparza, right? Like, I'm so 50-50. I'm gonna lean Yan just because I think we've been seeing a lot of, if she can work, if her get up game can be good, then I would favor her like 2 minutes of striking over Carla's 3 minutes of wrestling. Because that's what the judges seem to be looking for. But this is literally like, it's going to come down to what the judges see, man. Like, it's just such a hard fight to bet, in my opinion, unless you got on Carla like at the high dog money, then that's probably the side. But where the line is right now, I just don't see how you can bet it because it really is so close. Like, what are the judges looking for? Like, this fight's going to go to the judges' scorecards, and what is it that they're looking for? That's really what it comes down to in this fight. And I would be all over Yan, but her takedown defense to me doesn't really look that good. Like, I know it's at 75%, but she stuffs a lot of her takedowns against the clinch, right? Like, girls holding up against the clinch. She has good underhooks, good wizard, and she knows how to like circle out. But she gets taken down a lot in the open space. That's what I saw from the tape, right? Like, and that's what Carla does. That's her best takedown. She doesn't push you up to the cage and take you down usually. She shoots from open space and gets that down. And she knows she can't strike with Yan, so she's going to be shooting the takedown. And she's just someone that she knows what she's good at, and she sticks to it, right? And she's strong, right? I think she's underrated in terms of her physical strength, right? For being that small, I think she has good strength. She's very aware on the ground too, very tough as well. And it's just who gets their game plan off more, right? Like, it's just a tough fight to read because you don't know who's getting off their game plan. You don't know if Esparza is going to get the wrestling. You don't know if Yan's going to get the striking. Me personally, I think they're both going to have some success in both areas of the fight. Now it comes down to what the judges are looking for. It literally, to me, just comes down to what the judges are looking for on that night. Right, Carla, second best wrestler in the division, behind Tatiana Suarez.
100%.
Yeah, we saw how that.
She hasn't fought in a while. I forgot about her. Yeah,
she's coming back.
Yep.
She has good top control. She's relentless too. She'll keep pursuing that takedown. And Yan, they both have good cardio. And like, it's just tough to back Yan here because, like, if you think about it, like, why would Yan beat Carla but Marina Rodriguez wouldn't, right? Like, Marina Rodriguez to me is a better striker than Yan, right? Maybe Yan throws a bit more volume, but Marina, you've got to favor Marina. Like, in terms of Marina versus Carla, I think Marina has a better chance to beat Carla. Like, you agree with me on that? Because Marina's like a more power puncher. She's also bigger, so I would expect that she's, in terms of the takedown defense, sure, Marina's takedown defense has been proven to be worse than Yan. But if you break down her takedown defense from clinch takedown defense versus open space takedown defense, I definitely think we're going to get a different number.
And we've never really seen much of Yan on the ground, and Carla's a specialist at it. Like that's her thing.
Yeah.
So, of course, if Yan faces Rodriguez, it's gonna be a completely different fight. Like that's not gonna go to the mat at all. Meanwhile, this is gonna happen completely on the mat right here, and it's Esparza is gonna do what she does best, and that's smother her. And if anything, you bet Esparza by decision because is she gonna sub her? Probably not.
No.
I mean, so it's one of these fights where it should go to decision. What's going to count more to the judges, the volume or the striking or the wrestling, right? So I don't know.
Exact same for me. Like it's just tough because I mean, if Marina's not beating Carla, I think Yan has a worse chance than Marina to beat Carla. Honestly, so it's just tough to back Yan here. Whoever got on at Carla at that plus money, she just continues to be disrespected. Right? She's been an underdog like every single time because she can't strike, but she grapples, man. I think they just severely underestimate grapples, man. Like they're doing it with Felicia Spencer, man. They're doing it with Carla Esparza. They're just underestimating these grapplers, man. Like just because they're not good on the feet does not mean that they're not elite in other areas, right? So
the big difference between Esparza and Spencer, though, is Esparza will lay there in half guard and get the points, whereas Spencer's going to go for the kill. Another thing is, sorry if anyone heard me tapping on my keyboard while you were talking there, I realized that my book has a lot of money's coming out Spencer by finish, and I locked mine up before it gets to there. I got plus 250 on Spencer by finish. There's my final Spencer play. I got a lot on that, but
that's a good number.
I really like it, but Esparza's nowhere near Spencer's game plan. Like she will sit in half guard, no problem, and only throw strikes when the ref tells her to. It's like the Yan Esparza fight is like you're fading Yan on DraftKings 100% because if she's taken down, she's not doing anything. Right. So,
yeah, good. All right. So we have got into the main event now. Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font. I was getting scared, man, when Cody wasn't come out to weigh. I thought maybe something was going on, but he looked good. And these are just two guys, man. They are the same height. Like they are the same. Like
I'm gonna let you take this one. I know you had the breakdown. Everyone go check out his breakdown on the channel earlier. Just to get my 2 cents in there. I love Cody Garbrandt. And I've made a lot of money betting Font recently. And this is just a fight where I hope for the best. I know Cody's chin is questionable. I love his hand speed. He's got some decent tools, but I think this is Font's fight to lose. He's got the range. He's got that power. He got that great boxing skill. So I'm excited to see it. I hope for a great fight and take it away.
Okay, so we got Rob Font 33 versus Garbrandt 29. They're both 5'8". Like I said, they're the same height. 6-inch reach advantage for Rob Font. Big. Telling you. 18-4 professional record for Rob Font. He's 8-3 in the UFC on a 3-fight winning streak. 8 knockouts, 4 submissions, 6 decisions. Never been KO'd. Lost by submission once and decision 3 times. Cody Garbrandt is 12-3, 10 knockouts, 2 decision wins, and he's been KO'd 3 times. Now, yes, I did do a breakdown of this fight earlier, I think Monday. So if you want to see a more in-depth breakdown, I mean, I'll probably go into the same, but check that out. But for me, I think these are two guys that are very similar, right? They're both very quick, good head movement, good striking. But Font's got the 6-inch reach advantage, right? He's got one of the most elite jabs in the UFC, in my opinion. Very sharp, those great combinations, good pressure when he goes forward, throws lots of volumes, good feints, good fakes, good uppercuts, good low leg calf kicks, good counter hook shots, good head movement, right? This is obviously Calvin Kattar's training partner, right? So another great boxer there. He's definitely got good cardio. I know he's never been 5 rounds, but he definitely looks like his style fits a 5-round fight. Keeps a nice high guard, right? He's very defensively sound at range. And I think that's another big factor here, right? Is that he's so defensively sound at striking range. He's got a good straight right to the body. He's never been knocked out in his MMA career, right? He's got a good high kick. He has been hurt, okay, right? He has been hurt. He got hurt by a Sun Tzu. He got hurt by Simone. So he has been hurt. He got hit by Munoz. So he has been hurt, but he has recovered and he's looked pretty decent in there. And I think Rob Font's one of these guys where he is significantly improved from when he fought the likes of John Lineker. Like, this is not the same guy, right? He is leveled up on every standpoint, in my opinion. I think he's the better striker here. Right, before I get into that, I'll break down Garbrandt. So, right, Garbrandt is also very fast, good hands, right? 32-1 as an amateur boxer, good movement, good footwork, good kicks, right? Quick, both high and low. But his chin, man, like he gets reckless at times. But I think even if he doesn't get reckless, I just don't really see him winning this fight. He throws lower volume as well, right? He tries to pick his spots, but against Rob Font, like getting hit repeatedly with a jab is very frustrating, right? Like it's very annoying, and that's what Rob Font does, right? And I think that can frustrate Cody and cause him to make mistakes, man. He gets countered a lot, right? He got countered by counter hook shots versus Dillashaw. Rob Font's got great counter hook shots, right? So I just think however this fight goes, I just see it. It's Rob Font all day, in my opinion, man. And the only reason I'm not going higher on it is because Cody Garbrandt is dangerous, right? We've seen Cody Garbrandt in the fight against Cruz, like he can fight at an elite level. But I think it's Rob Font's time, man. I think he's a dark horse in the bantamweight division. I think this guy's a future title contender, man. Like this guy has gotten so much better. Like if Cody decides to play the style against the Sunsao, right? Like people hype him up off the Sunsao win. To me, that's not really impressive, man. It was 19-17 on significant strikes landed, and if he didn't knock him out with that, okay, I'm great knockout, right? Great knockout. But if he didn't knock him out, with that hook, that fight's arguably going to the scorecards. Like it wasn't looking like it was going to be finished, and you could have made an argument that a Sunsao could have been up 2-0. Right? Like it was very competitive. They were throwing very similar amount of significant strikes, right? So Cody, 19 significant strikes in 10 minutes. Not impressive, right? Rob Font is a guy who's going to throw a lot of volume, right? And we know Cody, right? If he gets into the firefight with Rob Font, you got to think that Cody breaks first, right? You got to think that because Font hits hard, right? This guy's got some power. So you got to think that Cody breaks first. I do think Cody may rock Font in this fight. I think that is very probable, but I think Font can recover. But I think if Font catches Cody, I don't know if Cody's going to recover, man. Like this guy's chin is very questionable, and Font throws so much more volume, man. Like he just throws way more volume. So if Cody wants to play the patient kickboxing fight against Font, I don't see him having that much success because I just think Font is better. I think Font's a better striker, man. I do. I'm not sleeping on Cody. I know Cody's a great fighter. I know he's a super talented fighter, but outside of that Cruz performance, right? I think he's slightly a little bit overrated, man. Like the Cruz performance, yes, but that's pretty much the only performance where I've walked away being like, because the other ones were like a lot of first rounds and like fair play. Like those are, what's he going to do? Like he looked obviously amazing in those fights, but when he's fighting the higher level competition, I've only been impressed in one of his fights. I wasn't really impressed in the first Dillashaw fight. The second one, he looked better. But again, he just got reckless, man. And Munoz, same thing. Like the fight was going okay, and then this guy just decides to go haywire and just attack him. And whose chin breaks first? It's Cody's. And then against the Sunsao, I'm happy for him, right? He's learning from his mistakes. He's not getting crazy, albeit Rafael Sunsao kind of forces everybody into a low volume affair. That's just his style. But 19 significant strikes over 10 minutes. That's too low, especially when you're facing a guy like Font, who I think is going to, Font's going to take center, right? Cody likes to go around the outside. I think Cody will have blitzes where he throws like 1-2s, leg kicks, mixes up the high kicks, but Font's going to back up, defend those shots because Rob Font is one of the most defensively sound fighters in that division, right? He is a high guard. He doesn't get hit very often. When he does, it is kind of sketchy, but for the most part, he doesn't get hit. And I think a lot of people are also backing the under here. I get it. I think it does go under, but I can see this fight going 5 rounds, man. Especially if Cody's more chill, and it's just like a chess match. I think Font can pick him up for 5 rounds. I think Cody could pick him up for 5 rounds. So I don't love that. I like Font here, especially at evens. I think Rob Font should be at least -150 in my opinion. I don't agree with him opening up as the dog. I just think that Cody has a lot of name value. I think Rob Font's an absolute dark horse. I think this guy is a problem. I mean, the bantamweight division is so stacked up top, but I think this guy's made significant improvements. This is not the same fighter from when he entered the UFC. This is a different fighter. This is a very sound technical fighter who's defensively intelligent, who's offensively very good. I think Cody, he could use the wrestling. but we haven't really seen that. So I don't really see how you can back Cody because you think he's going to use the wrestling when he really hasn't used wrestling thus far in the UFC that much. And we have seen Rob Font on his back, so maybe he does, but I don't see Cody grappling this guy for 5 rounds. Like, it just seems like a not likely outcome to me. So I love Rob Font here. I have 1.2 units on him, split 0.6 at minus 120, 0.6 at minus 115. I did think he was going to get pushed a little bit more to the favorite because I think he's the better. I think he's just better. Probably should have anticipated Cody's name value, but I like Rob Font here, man. I think the only advantage you can give Cody in this fight is the speed, and I think Rob Font is not slow himself. Regardless of how it goes, I think it's a great fight. Two really good guys. They match up super well in size, but I think this is Rob Font's time, man. I think he can defend Cody's strikes. If it gets into a slugfest, I've got to favor Font. I think anyone can favor Font in a slugfest if it gets to that. Due to his durability, never been knocked out. And I just think on the he's going to be the one controlling the pace. He's going to be throwing up that jab. That is just, he's going to keep throwing it out, and I think he's going to have success with it, right? And I just think he can mix in low kicks, body kicks, high kicks, go to the body. I love Font here, man. I capped it around 60, 65 for Font. I'm not going to count out Cody because Cody is a very good fighter, but I'm on Rob Font here all day.
Cheers, brother. I like it. And if anyone wants to hear more breakdown on the channel, there you go. Nice plug for you.
Yep.
You gonna be playing him on DraftKings then?
Yeah. I'll probably have a bit of both. We'll definitely have both because Cody. I definitely more fun.
I won't be as high owned.
There you go.
I won't be as high owned in this fight as everyone else seems to be. I definitely see it going to the cards. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
I hope it's an action-packed affair, but I don't know how much it's going to be. Like, we saw how tentative he was, like Garbrandt was versus a Sunsao, and I know that's his style, but you never know what you're going to get, and I could see a slower fight. So I'm not going to be super high owned on it. They are really evenly priced. Like, they're both very cheap, so I'm going to have some of them both, but there's so many better options I like up top, so we'll see.
Yeah, the over 2.5 is at plus money, man. That's tempting.
It is.
Might have another play. Maybe. All right, so we'll just get into the bets that we both have now. So here are my not in my thing. Okay, so these are going to be my plays. I've got Rob Font, right? This equates to about 1.2 units to win, just over a unit there. Love that spot. I think Rob Font gets it done in the main event. Confident on him, but Cody is obviously dangerous. Felicia Spencer, I got 2 units on her at minus 163. Again, we talked about this fight. Unless Norma Dumont has made significant improvements to her takedowns, defense, I don't really see her winning this fight, man. I don't think her cardio is that great. She's inexperienced. She hasn't faced anywhere near the competition that Spencer has. She's on short notice here. The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is Norma Dumont actually sizes up pretty well. But again, like Felicia Spencer had success controlling Cyborg against the cage. She controlled her against the cage. She cut her open, man. She had some success in that fight. Sure, when it was standing, she got beat up, but right, like Norma Dumont's not going to put on the beating that Chris Cyborg can do on the feet, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. And also, another point to the fact that she has a bad gas tank, man, she could have finished Ashley Evans-Smith. If she really put it on her, she could have finished. But why? I know you could just see it. She was conserving her cardio because she knew she got gassed out in the Megan Anderson fight, so she didn't want to do it again. But when you're facing Spencer and you have to constantly fight for underhooks, constantly fight for position, potentially have to fight off your back, it's way tougher, man. And if Norma Dumont, I think she's decent. I don't think she's I don't think she's a bad fighter. I think she is somewhat decent. I just think that this is a big step down for Felicia Spencer. Felicia Spencer is a true 145er. I do think Dumont's more of a 45er, but she could also be a 35er, but Spencer is a true 45er. So I love Spencer here. I got a 0.75 unit play on Court McGee over Claudio Silva. I like that too. I think it's a good stylistic matchup for Court McGee. A bit less on it because it is Court McGee and you can't be too safe. And then my last two plays here, my most confident plays on the card. Bruno Silva, Victor Rodriguez fight does not go to decision. -163, 4 units on that. And Bruno Silva inside the distance at -110, 1.5 units on that. Very confident that those hit. If Bruno Silva is getting out JP Bays within 2 rounds, knocking him down multiple times, I think it was like 3 or 4 times this guy had him hurt against a guy who, in my opinion, is chinny, was getting rocked by everything Inez was throwing, who's never been to the 3rd round, who's not UFC caliber, who's questionably making a tougher weight cut. Bruno Silva looks pumped up. He was the first one on the scales. He looked great, big flex. This is my guy, man. Bruno Silva's going to go in there and he's going to submit him or knock him out in round 1 or round 2. And I'm cashing this, man. I love my spots on this card. The only plays I'm considering adding are Jack Hermansson, Edmen, Shabazyan under 2.5. I'm going back and forth. It's probably going to be a fight time decision, honestly. And then Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt over 2.5 at plus money. But I'm probably going to stay away from that because I do think that Rob Font has the power to put away Cody Garbrandt early if he does connect. But yeah, love my spots on this card, honestly. Love them.
Yeah, my night really relies around the 2 fights, the Silva fight and the Spencer fight. So my big play is a 2-unit parlay from last week that had the under 4.5 in the main event, which cashed. Parlay that with Felicia Spencer for -110. So I got 2 units on Spencer there. I got 1.5 on her straight when she was -150 to win 1. And then I also have her to finish at +250. So I got a unit on that as well. Absolutely love it. Then I got Bruno Silva by finish inside the distance at +110. And I have him in a parlay with Bellator tonight. You can DM me on Twitter to find that out. I also have half the unit on Jared Vanderaa by inside the distance. I know, I'm weird. I'll take it though. And then I have the fight does not go to decision in the Alves versus Damir fight, just because you never know with a -550 favorite what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the only play that I haven't pulled the trigger on yet is that Hermansson play. I know a lot of people are on Shabazyan, so I think the line might get even better somehow. I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I think I'm going to be like 90% playing Hermansson, but that's it. Unless I get plus money on Claudio Silva. That'll be my night.
I hope for your sake that you don't.
I think he can do it, man, but
No, he's not doing it. I mean, he could, man. It's a low-level fight. Anything can happen in this, so. I love this card, honestly. From a
DraftKings, what do you got?
Oh, I actually haven't really looked that much. I haven't looked at salaries yet. Yeah, you handle this one. I'm slacking.
So, of course, core plays for me are Bruno Silva, 9.3 thousand. Okay. He's in my main lineup. As a punt play, Vanderaa, if he gets it done, he'll score big. If not, he'll score low. It is a punt play for a reason because, like I said, if he gets Tafa on his back, big chance to score big. But that one definitely is a scary one. I would stay away from the co-main unless you take Esparza. Esparza is an okay underdog. I would rather take other guys up top instead of Damir at $9,500 because he's expensive. You will like Rob Font. He's only $8,300, so you'll play him a lot. Rothwell's also good at 9.2. I wouldn't play Culibao at 9.1. And then Dvorak, I forgot about that. Dvorak versus low-level opponent, I'll take him $8,800. He'll be a core play. I completely forgot about that when I did my notes.
Dvorak inside the distance might be a play for me too.
Underdog play. Only underdogs in DraftKings I like are the punt play in Vanderaa. Court McGee is actually the underdog on DraftKings, so there you go. And Carlos Esparza at $7,600. So, Yancy Medeiros 7.8, tempting as well.
All right, so as usual, run through most confident plays on the card, best dogs, and then if you had to bet it, what would you do? So my most confident picks on the card: Damir Ismagulov, Joshua Culibao to a degree. I think he gets it done. Bruno Silva. I guess Ben Rothwell. David Dvorak, Felicia Spencer. And yeah, those are like and then Rob Fun I have a good lean on. But my most confident picks, like I know Bruno Silva. I definitely think Bruno Silva is getting it done. I definitely think David Dvorak's getting it done. And I definitely think that Damir Ismagulov is getting it done. And I'm pretty confident Rothwell, but it's lower level. Confident in Felicia Spencer as well. And Rob Font. And everything else is really close, to be honest.
Yeah, I got Felicia Spencer and Silva are just a level above everybody else in my confidence. Like they get my most confident play of the week, and then Damir, Rothwell, and Hermansson are tier 2 confidence levels. I think they'll get it done. The fights where I would completely stay off of in terms of I have no really prediction would be the Yancy fight, the Ramos fight, and the I know Culibao is a big favorite. I wouldn't play him that big because you're facing an unknown fighter. So most confident plays, I'm going to go with Bruno Silva and Felicia Spencer, both inside the distance.
Yeah, man, sounds good. For best dogs of the week, I think Yancy Medeiros. Yeah, Carlos Esparza. I'm on the Yan side, so to me, I think it could go either way. Probably, dogs. I mean, Court McGee, my most confident dog. Not anymore.
Ricardo Ramos is my most confident dog, I think. I don't know how he's plus money. He might be one of my Hail Marys that I tweet out right before fight night.
Yeah, I'm not really like confident in any dogs besides Court McGee. Like I think obviously like the dogs in like the Bill and like the minus like 115s, like the Bill Algeo fight, like the Yancy Medeiros fight. Like I think those dogs could get it done, but in terms of like bigger dogs, I'm not overly confident in any. And okay, close it out. So if you had to bet them, so Damir Ismagulov, if I had to bet, I would bet him by decision minus 125 because I do think yes he's live for the finish, but he is a decision point type fighter, and cutting the price tag from minus 550 down to minus 125. If I had to play it, that's where I would lean.
That is definitely the safer bet. So cheers to that. With a fighter that's kill or to be killed, I do like my under in the spot, but no, it's definitely safer to take Damir by decision just because that's the way he fights.
Yancy Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic. I mean, don't bet this fight, please. I mean, the under, I guess, is probably what I was going to say as well because, Medeiros has somewhat of durability issues, right? He's been finished in 5 out of 7 losses. I think Damir is durable, though. Like, I don't really see Yancy finishing Damir. It's just, I can't even give you guys, like, a bet if I had to. Like, I think I would honestly, I would know. If I had to bet, I would just take Yancy to win just because I think he wins and he is a slight dog. But I don't want anything to do with these two guys.
Agreed.
Yeah, okay. So Culibao versus Xiaonan Nurendijk. I mean, Culibao's the side here. But again, we just don't know too much about this newcomer guy. I do think, though, that I think Culibao is okay. I think he's okay. So I think he finishes this guy. Culibao by KO is plus 300. I mean, that's probably where I would go. I don't think he subs him. I mean, he has been subbed 4 times, but I don't think Culibao has a sub on his record. So if I had to play it, I'd probably say Culibao by KO. But again, just so many unknowns with this fight that you're probably best off to stay away.
Yeah, Culibao inside the distance is plus 215. I'm not playing it. I wouldn't touch it, especially with all the unknowns and the kung fu background of Shah, but I'll stay off.
Agreed. Bruno Silva versus Victor Rodriguez. I mean, you guys know where I stand. Bruno Silva inside the distance, even where it is now, I think the line should honestly be up to like minus 186. Like, there's just a mismatch. There's several levels of a difference here. If you're Bruno Silva and you're taking a guy like Tagir and David Dvorak to relatively competitive decisions, you're finishing Victor Rodriguez. You're finishing him.
Yeah.
So I love Bruno Silva inside the distance. I love the 4 units that I have on the fight doesn't go to decision at only like 50 cents more, because if Victor Rodriguez does find a way to win this fight, it's going to be by finish. In my opinion, I don't think he wins a decision. So just covering my bases there. If Bruno Silva gets it done, I'm going to be a very, very, very happy man. So yeah, Bruno Silva inside the distance is the sharpest play on this card, in my opinion, or that doesn't go to decision, whichever one you want, just to cut down Bruno Silva's price tag from minus 350 to minus 110 on a fight where he should finish.
Okay. Yeah, I'd fight for the Rothwell one. Oh, I skipped one. Keep going.
Don't get to the max bet yet. Claudio Silva, Court McGee. I mean, Court McGee's my side here. I love him. I don't love him. Don't love him. I like him in this spot. I think he wins. I'm excited to go head to head with you. Battle of the old, washed, probably gone in this after this fight fighters.
Yeah, I see your side, but I'm sticking with my gut. You know, like all the evidence says McGee should win this, but something tells me that Silva's going to snatch a neck and sub him. So that's my prediction. Claudio Silva by sub plus 400. That would be my best bet. Don't do it. McGee's probably going to stop the takedowns, but
I mean,
if you had
Claudio,
to,
I think he wins by sub. Like, I don't think he's not knocking out Court McGee. That guy's durable as heck. I mean, he could win
check
this. I don't know. I mean, if you have like the books where it's like you can play like sub
that's what I'm checking
decision
right now.
Those are awesome. I want those.
Yeah, Betway has those, and if you want to bet Claudio Silva either by decision or by sub, double method of victory, double. Claudio Silva by it doesn't give me the option. Never mind.
Well, if you have that and you're on Claudio, take that. If you're on Court, probably Court by decision too, honestly. But Claudio Silva's just like, I can see Court maybe catching him somehow. So I'd rather play the money line personally. But yeah, we'll get to the next fight. Ben Rothwell, Chris Barnett. If you're smart, you'll max bet Chris Barnett. That's my best bet. What about you?
I think we should go over under amount of dance moves Chris Barnett can do after the fight.
I mean, if he wins, then I'm going north of 100.
Amount of time spent breakdancing. Will the dancing? Oh my god! I think the best bet in this will be Ben Rothwell by KO. Agreed. I'm going to say it here because if it goes wrong, that I can't be judged for it. But I've had this weird gut feeling that Chris Barnett's going to win a decision. So it's out in the open. It's probably the least likely outcome. But I'm throwing it out there. If this happens, I want someone to screen record this, and I would like a personal e-transfer of a few dollars.
Barnett wins by decision is actually is plus 650, man. That's crazy. I thought it'd be way wider. But yeah, my best bet is Ben Rothwell inside the distance because, like I said, I think the sub is on the table. All right, moving on to the featured prelim. Bill Algeo taking on Ricardo Ramos. Just again, another fight that is just so tough to call. Similar guys. I do think the under could be alive. Potentially, I think Ramos has durability issues, and I think Ramos, if he gets the back, can get a sub. I mean, the under is plus 170 on some books, plus 165. So, honestly, my best bet here, because I just don't see the value in either money line, I think the under is probably the best bet if you had to, but just stay away. Actually, Bill Algeo by KO plus 650. I don't hate that either, man. Ramos is not the most durable guy in terms of his chin, and Algeo, he throws some spinning stuff, so maybe he gets a finish. But the under is probably my best bet. But just another fight that I just want to enjoy the action because I know it'll be good. But I don't want money.
Exact same as the next fight too. Both these fights potentially go under as well, but it's not something I really want to spend everything on. I prefer the money line on both these fights because I think Hermansson finishes, but you never know what kind of fight you're going to get with Edmen Shabazyan, who just went through the beatdown of his life, something he's never experienced before. We don't know what he's going to come back to fight as. So both in the Algeo and Ramos and Hermansson Shabazyan fight, I would just pick a side, honestly, because it could be high intensity, and I expect it to be, but you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and me, I'm the opposite, man. I think Jack Hermansson, Shabazyan, I think the under is the best bet here if you're going to play it. I'm very much considering it because you got to think that if Edmen pulls off the win here, it's going to be in the first or second round. Right, you got to think that, in my opinion.
And you got to think if it goes to the ground, Hermansson subs him.
Yeah. Can I see Jack Hermansson? Because it's not even like Edmen Shabazyan's like a submission threat off his back, so I don't see Hermansson just playing it safe in his guard. Like, I think he's going to pass and try to ground and pound this kid. And I think the only thing that's keeping me off is the fact that I do think Edmen might come in more tentative But on the other hand, I think Jack's going to be the one pushing the pace, so he's not going to have a choice, right? So I don't know, man. It's up in the air. I might play it. I do think a finish materializes, and again, the total set at 1.5. Like, I don't think it's going to be that high of a percentage of total set at 1.5 that go over 2.5. So I think that's the best bet here. Yeah, because even if you look at Hermansson's style, like, this is not a decision fighter. Right? This is a guy that only has 4 wins by decision, and when he wins, he's finishing. Right? Like, if he wins, he's been finishing. Besides that, like, decision win over Jacare Souza, in which if he got that guillotine against Edmen Shabazyan, he's finishing that fight. Right? It just happened to be Jacare, who's very sound defensively. But yeah, Jack Hermansson, Kelvin Gastelum finishing him. David Branch finishing him. Mearshart finishing him. Talis Latis finishing him. Finishing Bradley Scott, Alex Nicholson. Right? Like, before that fight, he hadn't won a decision since 2016. Right? And before that, 2015. Right? And there's just fights. There's like 3-4 fights in between. So Jack Hermansson is a finisher. This is not a guy that grinds you out and just hopes to get a decision win. And Edmen Shabazyan is not a guy that's going to be on his level on the ground. Right? And Jack Hermansson has submitted much better opposition than Edmen Shabazyan. So I'm very much considering the under. I might just play it like a little bit less just because I'm weary of it. But I do think there's value there, man. I think you can cap it near 70% of the time. So the under is my spot here. But I like Jack to win. David Dvorak versus Juancamilo Roderos. I mean, I like David Dvorak inside the distance, man. The more I've been thinking about it, I think it's decent. I know you've got some question marks on like how the fight goes, but I got to look more into it to see if they're like actually like friends. Because one part tells me is if they were really actually like good friends, he's not taking this fight, right? I don't see him taking the fight because, like, do you see that? If they're like good friends, like, why would he take that fight?
All right, if your best friend is a fighter as well, and this is one side, this will help your bet, and he says, hey, let me knock you out and we'll split the prize money for performance of the night. Like, either that, or you're fighting your friend, someone you actually care about, and you don't really want to go too hard on him, and it's going to be a decision. I lean the knockout side. I think that's going to happen. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty juiced. I think it's going to be pretty juiced. Oh, I'm pretty sure Roderos is pretty good on the ground. I know he's not UFC caliber, not Dvorak caliber, but I would lean more knockout. Has he?
Yeah, he's been sub. No, sorry. He has 2 wins by sub. My bad.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Dvorak isn't he's a finisher, but his style is more like 5 round. His style is more like play on the outside, be smart. So I don't know. I got to look more into it, and depending on what the line is, but as of right now, David Dvorak by decision. So David Dvorak inside the distance might be bad because if they're not good friends, like, you've got to think Dvorak just starches him within 1, right? Like, this is a guy who's 4-0, who's much smaller than him. Like, if you haven't seen, go back and watch the weigh-ins. There is a significant height difference. It is not 2 inches, I'm telling you. Like, it looks so much bigger. Dvorak is so big, so strong. And if they're not good friends, Dvorak needs to finish this fight, man. He's been training hard for a much tougher guy in Paiva, who some people thought he could finish, and Paiva is one of the most durable guys in the division. But yeah, like, Dvorak is a finisher, man. Like, yeah, he hasn't finished his first 2 UFC fights, but 13 or 12 fight finish streak against regional guys, and that's all this guy is. This is not a UFC caliber fighter right now. He's 4-0. He's 26 years old. He's young. I think they're taking him in too soon. It's just because, like, what do they got to do? They're just going to pull out the first guy they can find, and this is a guy who has obviously been training with David Dvorak. So you got to think that David Dvorak finishes him here, in my opinion. But I got to look into the story to see if they're like really good friends or something, or they're just like, hey, let's meet up and train and then go back home. So we'll see. But yeah. Felicia Spencer, Norma Dumont, you know where we stand. Felicia Spencer all day. Where the line is now, -170. I still think there probably is some value there. At -170, I think you can cap this fight honestly near -233. So I do think there's still some value on that spot. Felicia Spencer inside the distance. Your line at +250. I kind of really like that. Ooh. I just looked. It's +240. I mean, I already have 2 units on Felicia Spencer, and just in case Norma Dumont has made those improvements, I'm probably gonna chill on too much invested. But yeah, I love your spots, man. I think you're getting rich after the Felicia Spencer fight.
Hope so, my friend. Hope so.
Justin Tafa, Jared Vanderaa. Just stay away, guys, man. If you had to,
unless you're an idiot like me.
I mean, it's not a bad shot because if Vanderaa wins, you got to think it's inside the distance.
If he gets him on his back, I'm telling you, it's done because Tafa is not going to take those blows. That's the one thing Vanderaa has going for him is that ground and pound. He's not that good of a technical striker. He's got okay leg kicks and stuff, but I think Tafa's going to play it slow, and it's just one of those fights where you can go any way, but I like my odds on Vanderaa getting that knockout off on the guy's back.
If I had to play something, I'd honestly probably play over 1.5 if I had to, just because sloppy heavyweight fights typically tend to actually go over the 1.5 mark, and it's at like evens. So if I had to, it would probably be that. But yeah, just I don't want any part of that, honestly. Yan versus Sparza. Pick your fighter and pick them by decision. If you're gonna play them, pick your fighter, pick them by decision.
Fair.
You can get plus money on both. Carlos Sparza, it's plus what? You said at 168, I think. Let me double check. Carlos Sparza by decision, market wide, is around plus 160, plus 150. So that obviously improves from our plus 105 right now. And then Yan by decision is around the same, plus 150, plus 140. So you're basically getting a 50-cent improvement both ways. I don't see this fight finishing. You know, Yan hasn't finished any of her fights so far in the UFC. Carla's a super tough girl, super tough to put away. And, you know, Carla's more of a decision fighter, right? She has 10 of her 17 wins by decision. So pick your fighter, pick them by decision if you're going to take a side. But another fight I'd stay away from. You as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'd go as far as by decision. I can see her just sitting in her guard and grinding out a victory. So I'm not touching it. But if I had to, it'd be that.
And then for the main event, Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. I like Rob Font here. That's the side for me, especially at his price tag, minus 110. I just think he's the better fighter, honestly. I just think I think at range, Rob Font's going to have a lot of success. I think he's more durable. I think he does throw more volume. And, you know, I'm really high on Rob Font, guys. I think Rob Font is the real deal, man. I think he's improved so much, and he's defensively sound. He's got the better defensive tendencies, more volume. He's got a lot of power as well. He's going to have the reach advantage, the center control. I love Rob Font in this fight. But the over 2.5 is also not a bad look, man. You know, a lot of people think this finishes under, but I think this fight could go into the championship rounds, man, especially if it's a chess match. And Cody stays safe.
Yeah, I'm touching you'd think it's Rob Font's fight to lose, but Garbrandt has faced the best getting of them. They both have questionable chins, so it could go that, but if they're smart, it could go farther. So I'm staying away. I don't mind your spot on Font, especially now when he's minus 110. So cheers.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. So that's going to be the breakdown of UFC Vegas 27. I think it's a good card. We got 13 fights slated. A lot of competitive close fights. A lot of money to be made. I'm really comfortable with my betting spots. And yeah, man, we got the 1 week break, which I love, man, because I just, I'm just seeing my reads on the lines and just seeing that like Bruno Silva was like plus like 140 inside the distance or something like that. It hurts. So yeah, gonna get ahead on tape this week. Gonna be a week ahead so I can monitor the lines all throughout fight week, which I like. Yeah, I like this card. Great main event, great co-main event. A lot of sneaky good fights. Jack Hermansson. Edmen, Algeo, Ramos. I think there's a lot of sneaky good fights. Obviously, the GOAT, Chris Barnett, going to knock out Ben Rothwell round 1. Max bet him, lock it, get everything you need. Getting him a plus 300 is an absolute steal. But yeah, that's it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers,
probably probably going to post some single fight breakdowns this week. Getting ahead on the tape for some early thoughts for you guys. Tune in tomorrow, Saturday. The card's early, so it might be relatively early in the morning. I haven't decided. I'll tweet it out. You can follow me on Twitter, Phoenix_MMA. Going to break down the card from a prop perspective, just a quick one, around like 30 minutes max live stream. Final thoughts on the card. But yeah, that's all. That'll do it.
Thanks for having me, my guy. Let's
go,
man. Claudio Silva.
Let's go, Chris Barnett, man. If I lose all my bets and Chris Barnett wins, man, it's a win of a night for me. It's a win. Who needs money when you can watch Chris Barnett breakdance? That's all I got to say.
All right, guys, we'll give us some follows on Twitter. Bellator tonight, too. DM me for some plays there. Decent card. I like Brett Johns, absolute UFC legend. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'll see you around.
Okay. All right, guys. So have a good night, evening, day, whenever you're watching this, and remember to always bet on yourself, trust your reads, and peace.